Great resume with Gary Kubiak in his 7th season as the Houston Texans head coach. He's been there along with Rick Smith. They've done a marvelous job. Mike Munchak took the place of Jeff Fisher here in Nashville to coach the Tennessee Titans in his 2nd season. They were 9-7 a year ago. We've had the flip of the coin. The Texans have won, so they will receive the ball to begin things. Rob Baronis will be kicking off for Tennessee. And deep back for the Texans will be rookie Keyshawn Martin. He is out of Michigan State, and he can fly. Well, this should be an interesting game today, Solomon.
Well, the Tennessee Titans, Kevin, remember they had played 2 games in a span of 5 days. Now they have 10 days rest coming in to Tennessee here today. Let's see if they play with a renewed sense of vigor on both sides of the ball because the defense has been struggling.
Tennessee's coming off a loss at Jacksonville last week, 24-19. The Houston Texans won in overtime 10 days ago, 34-31. So they come in with the best record in the AFC. The Texans and the Titans, and away we go from Nashville out of the end zone with the touchback. It'll be 1st and 10, setting up things nicely for quarterback Matt Schaub. He is 14-1 as a starter the last 15 games. And Solomon on the road, he has gone 7-0 during that time.
One area of their team that has not struggled has been the offense, led by their quarterback, Matt Schaub. Today, he says he just want to allow his playmakers to make plays, and he's got plenty of them on this offense.
They begin with Casey here at the bottom of your screen with a 1st and 10 from their 20. The fake to Foster, the block by Brown. He feeds off to Owen Daniels. Blockers ahead. The catch and run for 13 yards. He's up to the 33. McCourty was there. Verner was there with the stop.
Remember, Gary Kubiak is, I think, one of the premier play callers in the NFL. Knows how to keep a defense off balance. They come out with a sort of tight end screen where they allow Daniels to get behind blockers. Myers and Harris. Harris starting today at that right tackle position. It's good at getting out in front.
That's right. They've got some injuries on that right side. Here's a 1st and 10. They do this a lot, and Schaub is great at it. Here comes Casey. There goes the throw. Walter makes the grab. Verner ushers him out of bounds. Gain of 4. He's up to the 38-yard line. Right tackle Ryan Harris starting for the injured Derek Newton. Harris played the majority of the Lions game. After Newton was injured, a lot of rotation on that right side today. And wide receiver Andre Johnson is the AFC Player of the Month after a historic 461 combined receiving yards over the last 2 games. In the game is 4 sets, 2nd down and 6. And he's got his target again, Walter. Verner was there to get him. A lunge to the 44, a pickup of 6, and very close to the 1st down. Titan defense number 29 in the NFL. Once a linebacker, now a defensive end. Cam Wembley leads them in sacks with 4. They had 7 as a defense last week. Colin McCarthy is out with a concussion in the linebacking core. So Tim Shaw will get the start. And we asked the quarterback yesterday, Matt Schaub, who he respects the most in the secondary. He said Jason McCourty. Here's a 1st and 10. It's a loose ball on a big-time hit. It's incomplete. Shaw, we just talked about him, hitting Owen Daniels. Incomplete. It'll be 2nd down and 10.
And how about the Houston Texans? They've come out and thrown the ball on 4 consecutive downs. The first 4 plays are all pass plays for Gary Kubiak. I think they come in, as you can see, this ball's ripped from the arms of Owen Daniels. They come in against a defense that allows opposing quarterbacks to complete 70% of their passes.
5 in the secondary. Arian Foster on 2nd down and 10. Tries to wheel. Witherspoon is over there. Also a stop by Zach Brown. It's a gain of 2. He's up to the 47-yard line.
I was mentioning the Tennessee Titans secondary allowing opposing quarterbacks to complete 70% of their passes. So Kubiak dialing up pass plays to begin this game, but you cannot forget about Arian Foster, who's so good at running. At the end of the day, Kubiak's going to call a game where there's going to be great balance between both the run and the pass.
6 defensive backs, 3rd down and 8. Flag is down. Could be encroachment. Outside they go. This is a catch by Lestard. Jean down the sideline and in for the touchdown. 54 yards as it stands. A flag is at the 47. It appeared to be against the Tennessee Titans.
Defense number 91. This penalty is declined.
We told you this secondary for the Titans are giving up a ton of big plays. Look over to the left side. Great throw by Schaub. It's a coverage beater. And you can see the poor angle taken. I think that was the safety. Look at this. He's working against Werner. Werner turns him over, and then you see that just a poor angle. And Gene just catches it, turns and runs, torches the secondary for a touchdown. I think it was Griffin on the play who took the poor angle.
Gene is a second-year player out of Florida Atlantic. Graham knocks it through, a quick 7-0. His first career touchdown is one to remember. Schaub to Gene, 54 yards, the catch and run. Texans on top. Lestar Gene was a walk-on at Florida Atlantic. He was undrafted in the NFL. He's only had 3 catches until today, but his fourth one to remember. A gallop of 54 yards, a touchdown, and it is 7-0 Houston. Raynaud will return it for the Titans, and he digs his way with the tackle made by Nading out at the 22-yard line on a 21-yard return.
Now let's go back and take a look at the touchdown. This is just a poor angle by a veteran Pro Bowl safety and Michael Griffin. As we go ahead and let it roll, you're going to see Schaub whip it out to his left over to the wide receiver Lestar Gene, and then watch as Griffin comes over the top. Freeze it right there. See, he's got to come over the top, what we call the upfield shoulder, and that would take him on a perfect angle to either bat the ball down and make a tackle. He comes underneath. He opens the door for Gene to race for a 54-yard touchdown. And he's a veteran player, but takes a poor angle and gives up big plays.
Gene's got a motor, doesn't he? He was racing down that sideline. First down and 10, Locker. Chris Johnson. Flag was thrown. There was a Cody tackle. It is a gain of 2. Now the flag was picked up. He's out to the 24. Here's the second-year quarterback, and he was the 8th overall selection a year ago. Jake Locker of the Titans.
What did Jake Locker tell us? All he has to do is listen to his feet. He said, my feet will tell me whether to run or pass. Something tells me against this Texans defense, he's going to have to do a lot of both.
He's got a new offensive coordinator today. Tom Moore has joined the staff this week. Second down, long 7. Play action by Locker with good time. And looking for Crook, the tight end. Great catch. Danielle Manning was there. The gain to the 50, a 25-yard pickup and a Tennessee Titan first down.
Now, they don't know what to expect. Remember, Dowell Loggins is the new offense coordinator, so they're coming out with a variety of plays. Nice route being run right there. And look at him just go right over the top. Does Cook over the top of Danielle Manning. And remember, Cook has started over the middle of the field, but he broke it back off. And so when you're preparing for an offense coordinator who has never called plays in a game, as a defense, you don't know what to expect.
Yeah, nothing on tape, is it?
Right.
First down and 10. Chris Johnson. Big hole up the middle. Dancing free and in the secondary. Knocked out of bounds on the play by Kareem Jackson. He gallops for 27. He's down to the Texan 23.
Kevin, now that they've gone back to this zone one-cut running style, something that has made Chris Johnson so good throughout his career, he's become more consistent over the last 5 weeks, averaging 128 rush yards per game over their last 5 games. And we're getting more runs like this from Chris Johnson, who has, I think, shown that his patience has paid off as he's taken his game to another level.
That's the starting right tackle, David Stewart, down, and an injury timeout. Injury timeout, the right tackle, Dave Stewart, is down. And, boy, that cart got out on that field in a hurry. They put the boot on the leg, and they knew instantaneously that there is an issue there. It looks like it's the bottom portion and could be broken. Let's watch it and see if we can see the injury. 76.
Yeah, he's the right tackle. And watch, see that lower leg right down there? You get some trash on the back of those legs. This is where offensive linemen are really exposed, and I'm not so sure there's much you can do about it because, remember, they're trying to block downfield, and people are falling all around their legs, and he gets rolled on the back of that right leg, and that doesn't look good at all.
Then the starting right tackle since 2006, so they'll wheel him off. And out there now, Mike Otto. He is a veteran of 5 years out of Purdue. But a change for an offense that has moved well. They had a 25-yard pass to the tight end, a 27-yard run by this guy, Chris Johnson. Here is a 1st and 10 wrapped up and brought down on the play by Tim Dobbins. No gain. J.J. Watt might be the NFL's Defensive Player of the Year. He's been that good. Even some MVP talk. Sean Cody is back. As you take a look now at that Michael Roos, who's playing that left tackle. And he'll be starting today, and against J.J. Watt, that'll be tough. Chris Johnson, the NFL's number 6 rusher coming into today, had 144 against this team when they last played in Houston, 2nd down and 10. Blocker, Chris Johnson, and chasing him down is Sharpton. That is a gain of 5, and he's down to the 20-yard line. J.J. Watt, who started his college career at Central Michigan as a tight end, went to Wisconsin. The rest is history. A lot of changes. Merciless will be the outside linebacker today. Rude starts in the middle. Jonathan Joseph is out. His replacement, Alan Ball, is out. Bryce McCain will start at that cornerback. You see the secondary for the Texans. 3rd down and 5. Watt digging in. Blocker. And going to the end zone. Incomplete for Kenny Britt. Coverage down there by Kareem Jackson, who played well last week against Detroit's Calvin Johnson. Incomplete. 4th and 5. They'll try for 3.
Kevin, you already mentioned Chris Palmer, former offense coordinator, fired earlier during the week. Dowell Loggins now calling the plays for the first time in his career as a coach in the National Football League. So we're getting a look at a new feel for this offense that went right down the field against the Texans, and now they're going to have to settle for a field goal.
Here is Baronis, coming off a 4 of 5 game last week against Jacksonville. 37-yard try, wind in his face, right through the middle, and 3 on the board for the Tennessee Titans. 9.5 to play in the first. Schaub threw a touchdown pass to begin things for the Texans. Of 54 yards, he's back out there for a second swipe. Watching the NFL on CBS. So the Tennessee Titans were driving well. They got the 25-yard pass to Jared Cook, the 27-yard run by Chris Johnson. They settle for the 37-yard field goal by Baronis, and they get 3 on the board, and they're down 7-3.
You know, both teams have a great feel for one another playing in the AFC South Division. And remember, the last time when they played in Week 1, the Texans won that game, but Chris Johnson had one well of a game, rushed for 141 yards. In total, they had over 170 rushing yards against this Texans defense. So they feel like they can come in here and move the ball today.
Here's the kickoff by Baronis. Keyshawn Martin will leave it in the end zone. Back out to the 20-yard line they go for a second consecutive time, and you vote, they play. Send your favorite players to the 2013 Pro Bowl in Hawaii. Vote online or with your mobile device at NFL.com/Pro Bowl or text Pro Bowl to MyNFL. 1st and 10, Texans.
Well, you know, we talk about the Houston Texans, talk about this being a prolific offense. Over the last 2 games, they've had maybe the most production they've ever had, 2 consecutive games. Matt Schaub has been red hot at quarterback. Let's see if they can get something going on their second possession.
Justin Forsett in the backfield, 1st and 10. There's a block by Daniels and a stick right there by Shaw on a handoff to Forsett with a gain of 3 to the 23.
Yeah, Justin Forsett will spell Arian Foster from time to time. We're going to see Ben Tate as well. Gary Kubiak felt like this is a point in the season where they need to kind of take a little bit off the plate of Arian Foster, start to give other players a chance to manufacture production within the offense. Remember, this is a team that's building for the long haul, Kevin, as they head towards the postseason.
Nickel secondary, 2nd down and 7. Forsett. Nice hole, hitting the secondary by Robert Johnson. That's a 1st down run, a pickup of 11. He's up to the 33.
They're going off the right side behind Ben Jones at the right guard. And then, of course, Derek Newton. Look at this. One cut and get up in the hole. Just an excellent run. I should say Ryan Harris, who's starting for Derek Newton at the right tackle position. But they're getting movement against this Tennessee Titans defense. And if their front 7 doesn't play well on defense, Kevin, it could be a long day for the Titans.
Arian Foster is in. First and 10, Foster. In the secondary by Jason McCourty. It's a gain of a yard, and he's to the 34.
They haven't thrown much to Arian Foster coming out of the backfield, at least this year. Last year, he was so prolific catching the ball out of the backfield, and they've looked to take some off his plate. What did he tell us? He said he's functioning at a much higher level in the role given to him by his head coach, Gary Kubiak, during the 2012 season, keeping the offense on schedule, making sure that he takes what the defense is giving him in the early downs.
On second down and 11, the block by Brown, the left tackle. And it's incomplete. They were looking for the wide receiver, and that was Kevin Walter downfield. And there was coverage down there. McCourty was in the vicinity, as was Griffin. Incomplete pass. It'll be 3rd and 8.
I watched this pass. I thought McCourty had a chance to come away with an interception. He'll undercut the route by Walter. Look, once he gets in there, he wasn't able to get to the ball. He did grab that hand of Walters. Watch him grab the left hand. See that arm right there? That's why he was claiming pass interference. It's a sleight of hand move the officials didn't see.
6 defensive backs, 3rd down and 8. Schaub, and he's got Daniels, who's brought down on the play by Brown. It's a pickup of 10. It's a 1st down. Spot him at the 44.
Matt Schaub does such a wonderful job of staying on the field, converting 3rd downs. Look at this. And about Daniels, he understands where the hole is in the coverage. And watch when he catches this, he'll just back up. And that's what allows him to get the 1st down. He knew he didn't have a lot of time to turn and run. He just backed his way into a 1st down.
This is Forsett back in the game on 1st down and 10 and brought down by Tim Shaw. Gain of 6 on the play to the 50-yard line. The one thing that I think marks this offense is the balance between run and pass for the Texans.
They do such a wonderful job of keeping defenses off balance, and that does Gary Kubiak. You see that play call sheet? He's got plenty of plays, but the way that he mixes them in, some runs, some pass, some bootleg, reverse bootlegs, and then he'll sneak a receiver down the field and play action pass.
The count 2, 2nd down and 4 into the teeth of that defense and brought down by Akeem Ayers. No gain on the play. They stay at the 49. Let's go back to Thanksgiving. 10 days ago, the referees did not whistle Justin Forsett down. You all remember this play. It led to an 81-yard touchdown run despite his knee appearing to touch the turf. The play could not be reviewed due to the Lions coach, Jim Schwartz, throwing a challenge flag on the play that was automatically to be reviewed. So that may change when the competition committee gets back together, but right now it stands, and he's got the big run. It's 3rd down, long 4. Schaub, incomplete, looking for the wide receiver, Keyshawn Martin. Coverage on the play by McCourty and by Alteron Werner. Incomplete. They got a punt on their 2nd possession.
Was this ball tipped at the line of scrimmage? Because it was thrown inaccurately. This was nowhere near. Look, even though it was a little short arm there by the intended receiver, not sure if that ball would have been deflected slightly as it hovered over the line of scrimmage.
Here's Donnie Jones. Boy, he's had a terrific season. A 2-time second-team All-Pro punter. Came from St. Louis. They signed him back in March. He plays punt for the Houston Texans. Raynaud is back and signaling for the fair catch, which he makes back at the 5 with a little bit of a wind in his face and a 44-yard punt. So here comes Chris Johnson, and a good run at 27 the last time they had the ball. 5:39 in the 1st. Beautiful Nashville, all dressed up for the holidays after the 8 plays punt by the Texans. 1st and 10 for Titans. Quarterback Jake Walker at his 5. Looked like the Merciless may have gotten his hand. It's an incomplete pass. They were going to Washington. The coverage on the play by Bryce McCain. It'll be 2nd down and 10. There is a new offensive coordinator, Dowell Loggins, who's a Texas kid, Texas high school quarterback, a walk-on at Arkansas. Always wanted to be a coach, and here he is now an offensive coordinator.
Yeah, and Mike Munchak told him, hey, you don't have to try to make a statement in your first game. That good reputations are earned over a long period of time of having a productive offense. Having learned under Sean Payton in Dallas, Mike Heimerdinger, the former offense coordinator here in the Titans, he comes from good stock.
It's a 2nd down and 10 handoff to Chris Johnson, who is hit by Sharpton. It is a gain at 2. So it'll be 3rd down and 8 coming up.
And Mike Munchak feels that his new offense coordinator, Dowell Loggins, has a good feel for the game. He said he already knows our players, and what we hope he'll do is tailor the offense to the talents of our football team. And I think it starts with simplifying the passing game for quarterbacks and wide receivers, where they're not reading coverages as they're releasing down the field. And you're already seeing this offense go right down the field on that very first possession. So the ability to simplify it and allow the playmakers to make plays.
Texans with 6 in the secondary. 3rd down and 8 for Walker. And is McCain able to vacuum it in after it looked like maybe Brandon Harris had touched the ball? They call it incomplete. McCain will dispute it. Nonetheless, 3 and out for the Tennessee Titans.
This is the play this defense has been looking for over the last 2 weeks. Everybody knows this defense has struggled. They've given up pass plays. That ball is almost caught by Bryce McCain, but it does hit the ground. They've given up 6 touchdown passes in their last 2 ball games against Jacksonville and then against Detroit, but they haven't come away with any interceptions after allowing so many big plays.
That's a good point. Plus, it's the #1 3rd down defense in the NFL.
Absolutely, and the ability to create turnovers is what they're looking for.
Brett Kern to punt. Keyshawn Martin, nice catch. At the 30-yard line, here he goes. Looking for a block, he gets a couple, and he's off to the races. Chased by Shaw. Flag is down at the 32 as we have him scurrying all over the field. Well, we've got 4:28 to play here in the first quarter from Nashville. Tony Correnti is our official, our referee today here in Tennessee.
Well, he ran a long way not to gain many yards. The more you run sideways, flag's going to be thrown.
During the return of the kick, illegal block in the back. Receiving team number 26. 10-yard penalty. First.
All right, here comes another possession for the Texans and their great, terrific wide receiver, Andre Johnson. Nice 70-yard punt by Kern. He flipped the field, and so now they'll begin at 1st down and 10 from the 25. Out of the backfield area, and Foster on the move with a couple of tight ends. Schaub, that's the punt they must have been. They were going for Casey, incomplete. 2nd down and 10.
Yeah, Matt Schaub throwing it incomplete, but boy, he's gotten off to a great start in this game, Kevin. The ability to mix in the run and the pass, dumping him one off to Owen Daniels, then over to Kevin Walter. Then how about Lestar Jean on a 54-yard catch and run to torch this Titans secondary. If this secondary doesn't get better, if they can't put pressure on Schaub, he could end up with some huge numbers like what we saw 2 weeks ago against Jacksonville.
2nd down and 10. What tempo? Andre Johnson brought down by McCourty. The catch and run of 15 to the 40-yard line. A 1st down for the Texans.
And it helps to have a really good wide receiver, one of the greats, in Andre Johnson. Plenty of protection. Look at that ball. It's thrown right where Johnson can get the catch and run. Nice right in front of Jason McCourty. Able to catch and then get a few extra yards afterwards. 94 straight games with a reception for Andre Johnson.
He's the number 6 receiver in the NFL. 1st and 10, Arian Foster stood up and brought down on the play. Good play and good tackle by Zach Brown. He's a rookie and a 2nd-round pick out of North Carolina with a gain of 1 to the 41.
You can see what Andre Johnson has done the last 2 weeks. It's the best 2-game span by any wide receiver in the history of the National Football League. 461 yards receiving in games against Jacksonville and Detroit. And Schaub, he put up 527 passing yards and 5 touchdowns in those 2 games.
Here's a 2nd down and 9. That was almost picked off. They were going for Daniels, and it was almost picked off by Jordan Babineau. We're picked off right now by New York and James.
Oh, the Patriots getting it done.
Well, 5 straight games with a rushing touchdown. Stephen Ridley goes in. New England takes a 7-0 lead. Remember, with a victory, New England will win the AFC East.
All right, boom, that they can do. Let's take it back to Kevin and Solomon.
That's the story for the Patriots in the East. With the win today, the Houston Texans will secure a playoff, or if they tie, but they cannot clinch the division with a win.
How about that for the 2nd consecutive season? This one-time expansion team has come a long way, Kevin.
3rd and 9. Andre Johnson slipping on the turf, shy of the 1st. Gain of 3. They go to the 43. They got a punt again.
Oh, Andre Johnson knows that he kept his footing, but he had a chance to split the defense, create a 1st down. Of course, the defense was bearing down on him. And now the Houston Texans are forced to punt on their last 2 possessions after scoring on their first one of the game.
Donnie Jones on the left. Moments ago you saw Raynaud on the right. Ooh. Cordy got in there and just about got a hand on it. This is going to land at the 5. Great English. He'll pick it up, and why not? He gets out to the 10. Nice play. Looked like Rock Carmichael was among a couple down there with the stop. 51-yard punt. We're in the first 2:34. We're in Music City, USA here in Nashville, Tennessee with Solomon Wilcots, Kevin Harlan. On the 10-yard line, 1st and 10 for Tennessee. We just found out that the big right tackle, Stewart, fractured his leg, gone for the game. Otto continues to take his place.
And now they take on the Houston Texans defense, Kevin, who has struggled over the last 2 weeks. And we can talk about the many reasons why they have struggled. I think we need to talk about it a little bit because they've played 10 quarters of football during the span of 5 days.
Locker 1st and 10. Good block by Chris Johnson. Up ahead it goes for the rookie, Kendall Wright. It's incomplete. Nice coverage on the play by Brandon Harris. Just called up, playing in the nickel.
Remember, this is a defense over the last 2 games that have given up 68 points, 791 passing yards, and 6 touchdown passes under Wade Phillips. Remember, this is an aggressive defense. They play a lot of man-to-man coverage, Kevin. 95% of the time, they're in man coverage. And so they can win 65 plays out of a 70-play game, but in those 5 plays, they're usually explosive plays that they have allowed over the last 2 weeks, and those numbers are inflated. So I think they need to play a little bit more zone to give some of these defensive backs a little bit of rest.
Going into a dime, it's incomplete on 2nd and 10. They were going on the play for Kenny Britt. There was a big-time hit put on there. Well-timed, it looked like, by Kareem Jackson. Incomplete pass.
And this is more of what they want to do. Play from off, where Kareem Jackson can see the quarterback. He can still see the wide receiver, knifes in, and is able to make a play. When you go press, man-to-man coverage, sooner or later, you're going to give up plays in this league with the way the rules are designed. And I think that's the adjustment made by Wade Phillips today. And you can see defensive back coach Vance Joseph also, in terms of their play scheme for today, allow the secondary to play with their vision on the quarterback while seeing the receivers as well.
Still into 6 defensive backs. 3rd and 10, Locker. That was deflected. Beautiful play right there by Glover Quinn. 3 and out. They got a punt again to the Tennessee Titans for the 2nd consecutive time.
So you can see playing a little bit more zone coverage as well. He's actually, Quinn's in man coverage matched up against Cook. See, he was in man coverage, but he got his eyes back in to the quarterback. By getting your vision on the quarterback, it allows you to make more plays on the football, Kevin.
Well, they moved Quinn, of course, to strong safety last season after 28 starts at cornerback, and he has done a nice job there. Last punt went 70 yards by Kern, deep back inside his own 40, his wide receiver, and single safety, Keyshawn Martin. Another nice one to the 38. Get up into that bright Tennessee sun. Martin on the move with the punter to beat. Trying to hurdle him, and out of bounds he goes on the chalk. Kern the tackle. Good looking return. All the way to the 20-yard line, a return of 37 yards.
This offense is so good, and then, of course, they get the special teams going to set up their quarterback Matt Chop. We're going to show you on the eye visit just how they do it. Little play action fake here that draw the linebackers up to the line of scrimmage, and then they get receivers out to the 2nd level. This is Owen Daniels. Look how he's able to sneak right past the secondary. The play action pass is set up because they run the ball so well, and then they hit you with that play action pass where deadly accuracy from Matt Chop creates big plays.
1st and 10, Arian Foster. Rammed into Wade Smith, his guard, runs outside, chased by Tim Shaw, works his way to about the 17, picks up 3 on 1st down.
And that's what we're talking about, Kevin. We said they came out and they had dialed up pass plays on the first 4 plays of the ball game, but they'll get back to running the football because sooner or later, Gary Kubiak wants to go with the play action pass. They will not get away from giving the ball to Arian Foster. I think he's one of the best red zone runners in the National Football League.
Well, this is the number 3 Texan offense in the NFL. 5 with the run, as you see a player being attended to. They're 10th in passing. Only New England has scored more points among AFC teams than this Houston ball club. And it's the left tackle, I'm told. That is it. Dwayne Brown is the one they're looking at right now. We've had one tackle on the other side of Tennessee break a leg. We got this guy now who's hobbling off. He, by the way, has played absolutely terrific football. He has only allowed 1 sack all season after signing that big-time extension in the offseason to stay with the Texans.
He's at that left tackle position. That's the coveted position that protects the blind side of the quarterback, Matt Schaub. And this is a team that, remember, they came out of that Chicago Bear game beat up. And everyone said it. They said that it was a war of attrition. That was a 13-6 hard-fought football game on Monday night back on Week 9. And that's why Week 10 and 11, you saw this team maybe not quite perform as well. They've been banged up, and they're rotating players on the offensive line. They're rotating players at the linebacker position. Kubiak's trying to give his guys as much rest as possible.
Brandon Brooks now playing that right guard. Andrew Gardner, the 6'6" new left tackle. 2nd down and 7. Good fake by Schaub. Looking in the end zone. Daniels on the move. Afalava was there with the coverage among many for the Tennessee Titans. Looking for Daniels, 3rd and 7.
And watch the play action fake here. Watch the linebackers all bite up, and then you expect it to get open at the second level. Just missed it by a hair as they were able to get behind the middle linebacker, Shaw.
Boy, look at those numbers. Absolutely exquisite throwing where it counts the most in the red zone. 3rd and 7 for quarterback Matt Schaub. Outside, Arian Foster. Hit once. That was by Alteron Verner. And then out of bounds, losing his balance. Picks up 6. Very close to the first down on that 3rd and 7. Shy, as you can see, perhaps by about a yard, maybe a little bit less.
You're so good, Kevin. Watch him make the first 2 unblocked defenders miss. He's trying to get to that first down. Look, he made 1 miss. And now watch him take care of the second one, Griffin. And then it's that foot stepping out of bounds before he hit the first down marker. But great effort there by Arian Foster.
I'll tell you what, Solomon, they use him a lot. He's got the most carries of any running back in the NFL. 269 coming into today. Kubiak wants a timeout. See him top of the screen, ran all the way down the sideline and got the timeout.
You think he wants to take a look and see if they picked up that first down?
Well, they might. 4th and 1. A break in Nashville. 1:04 in the first. Still waiting on the injured report on Dwayne Brown, an all-pro, second team a year ago. Here's a 4th and 1 after the timeout. Arian Foster. Oh, there's a nice block by the replacement for Brown. That was Andrew Gardner, all 6'6" of them. He picks up 6. And with him leading, they got a 1st and goal down to the 5-yard line of Tennessee.
Kubiak called the timeout. He wanted to make sure they were in the right position to try to get this play and create a first down on 4th and 1. Flip it out to Arian Foster. He does the rest, Kevin. He's real good at, I think, maintaining balance upon contact, creating yards after contact. Kubiak's got a bevy of weapons on this offense. We've already seen Lestar Jean, and of course going along with Andre Johnson and Owen Daniels and Arian Foster. He's got players.
2nd and goal at the 5. Make it 1st and goal, and that is a touchdown, and it's caught by Casey of 5 yards. A 1st and goal at the 5, and Casey catches it, and just like that, a 2nd touchdown pass for quarterback Matt Schaub.
Oh, they make it look easy. And you can see he slips out of the backfield. He lined up on the opposite side of the line of scrimmage. They start motion one way, and all they do is slip him behind the line of scrimmage to sneak him out into the end zone. Defense never even saw him until they were outflanked.
So Schaub has now thrown touchdown passes number 20 and 21. A 54-yarder to begin things with Lestar Jean. And a 5-yarder, very easy one right there for Casey. The extra point is up and in. Casey will get his first touchdown reception today. They converted that 4th and 1, which was huge.
And Kevin, we talk about the play action fake. Watch all the motion going here, but see, here's Casey. He'll sneak behind the line of scrimmage, and the end man on the line of scrimmage has to have him. But watch with the hard run fake, everyone gets sucked going one way, and by the time they realize it, he gets past the end man on the line of scrimmage, and you'll never stop that play unless you're patient to sit backside of the run fake. Just a well-designed play by Kubiak.
How about this? You know, you take a look at this Houston ball club, and you can see all those points given up by Mike Munchak's Tennessee Titan defense. But the thing that probably impresses you the most about Houston is they had so many defections during the offseason, lost so many key players, and yet here they are, you know, fighting their tails off in this season without guys like Mario Williams, who was injured a good part of last season, but they lost Dreesen, the tight end, lost D'Amico Ryans. I mean, one big-name player after another. Bryzell on the right side of the line, and Eric Winston, the right tackle.
But give their general manager, Rick Smith, a lot of credit. They've drafted well over the last few years with Connor Barwin, with J.J. Watt, with Brooks Reed, Brian Cushing, who they've lost to injury. I think I'm amazed how they've been able to overcome some of these injuries and the loss of some talented players and continue to play at a very high level.
Well, they're so deep, they just go back to the well and they find guys, like you say, that they've drafted and signed off the street, and that'll be left in the end zone by Raynaud. And so out to the 20-yard line they go. So there you see the Houston Texans. And Baltimore right in back of them. They play to the Ravens Pittsburgh later today. So a win today, and Houston is in the playoffs. A win or a tie, they are in the playoffs.
And how about the Houston Texans? They've got New England next week, and then in 2 of their last 3 games to close out the regular season, they've got to play Andrew Luck and the Indianapolis Colts. So it'll be a fight to the finish in the AFC South. Houston hoping to put this thing away early.
Locker is only 2 of 8. Here's a 1st and 10, and that's bobbled and dropped by tight end to rookie Taylor Thompson. He's a 5th-round pick out of SMU. Incomplete, 2nd down and 10. So the tight end could not lasso that in. And coming up now for the Texans, a big one Monday night in Foxborough against the Patriots.
And look at that. You got the New England Patriots on the road, and then the upstart Indianapolis Colts with their rookie quarterback, Andrew Luck. They've played phenomenally well. And so the Texans, they still have their work cut out. As tough as it's been for them for the last 3 weeks to still have to finish off the season with that kind of schedule, boy, it tells you a lot about the NFL.
2nd and 10, Chris Johnson wrapped up on the play by rookie Jared Crick out of Nebraska. Gain of 4 on the play. That's going to take us to the conclusion of the first quarter. Schaub has thrown a couple of touchdown passes, a catch and run of 54 by Gene. In stride, Casey a 5-yard touchdown run, and it is after the throw by Schaub. 14-3, the Texans at the end of 1. 2 touchdown passes by Schaub. A month ago, the Tennessee owner Bud Adams, following a loss of 51-20 to the Chicago Bears, said the Titans were grossly outcoached, put everybody on alert. 3rd down and 6 right here as we start the second quarter. Locker, and that is caught and grabbed by Jared Cook on the play. Danielle Manning among a couple that are there along with Quinn. Gain of 7. And he's up to the 30 and a 1st down.
You know, Bud Adams, he keeps a watchful eye on his football team. And you mentioned, he said they were grossly outcoached. He also said they were outplayed. He says everyone will be under evaluation. He put everyone on notice. The coaches and the players said this is what we're looking at over the last 5 weeks. And even Mike Munchak, he admitted that, hey, we're all under evaluation. They make the change at the offense coordinator position. Something tells me there'll be even more changes to come.
Chris Johnson on 1st and 10. J.J. Watt got him and drove him back a yard to the 30-yard line.
Well, this is a team that has lost 3 of their last 4 games. Mike Munchak felt like last week they had opportunities to score more points. That's why they made the change the coordinator position, Kevin. They were forced to settle for 5 Rob Baronis field goals. Felt like they could have finished off more drives, and so they make the change at the offense coordinator position, and they hope it will help their young quarterback, Jake Locker, to make more plays. See if he can get that done here today.
2nd down, 12, and there is too much pressure up the middle, looking for Chris Johnson, incomplete. It'll be 3rd down and 12. Well, they're looking for a little patience here, too, because they've got a lot of young players on this Tennessee ball club.
Well, right now, whatever Dowell Loggins is doing, it's not working, Kevin, because Locker has begun the game 3 of 11 for 37 yards passing. And I think you've got to start with something. You've got to start with getting Chris Johnson off to a good start. 141 yards rushing. The last time they played these Houston Texans, he's only had 6 carries so far in the game. Get the run game going to help your young quarterback.
6 defensive backs, 3rd and 12. Walker with his progressions underneath and behind the tight end Cook, and he was covered with a nice hit on the play by Tim Dobbins, who didn't play last week in Detroit with an injured shoulder.
See, another thing that I think they need to do is get Locker out of the pocket. See, now he's playing from the pocket. He's trying to go through his progression. That ball was poorly thrown behind the intended receiver, or I should say tight end, Jared Cook, who takes a lick on that play. I think you've got to just be more creative with the talent you have. You talk about tailoring the offense and the plays to your talent. Jake Locker is athletic. Get him out on the move away from the tendency of this defensive line to bat down balls.
3rd consecutive punt for the Tennessee Titans, and deep back they've got rookie Keyshawn Martin. And he'll let it go out of bounds. And they're going to put the ball at the 19-yard line for quarterback Matt Schaub. 2 consecutive 300-yard games, and he's well on that pace today. After the 3rd consecutive punt by Tennessee from the 19, 1st and 10. And this will be Justin Forsett, hit and brought down by Shaw out to the 22, and a pickup of 3 on the play. And coming up, the Verizon halftime report. JB Dan, Shannon Boomer, and Coach Bill Cowher for the latest NFL scores, highlights, all coming up on the Verizon halftime report from New York. We've been talking about all the accolades that follow this offense in as Dwayne Brown is back in. He was back in the last series, last couple plays there after injuring his leg. But this is the number one time of possession offense in the NFL as well, this Houston offense.
Yeah, they do as good a job as anyone at eating clock and possessing the football. You mentioned they've scored more points than anyone except the New England Patriots. And this has been this offense for the last 5 years in Houston.
This is Forsett on 2nd down and 7. It is a gain of 3. Akeem Ayers was there. Flag has been thrown. We've got Ben Tate, who's also been activated today. He's been out for the last month with an injury. We expect to see some of him, although we talked to Gary Kubiak yesterday. Say, what are you going to do? You got Forsett playing so well.
That's right.
Here comes Tate. Foster's in right now. I mean, you got an embarrassment of riches back there.
And we said coming in they were going to use all of these running backs. They were at a point in the season where they need to take some of the load off the plate of Arian Foster, start to get Ben Tate into the rotation, and Forsett has earned the right to carry the football a little bit more.
3rd down, 4. Broken up beautifully on the play by Alteron Werner. They were going on that pass for Andre Johnson. 3 and out. Houston's got a punt.
Well, this is a secondary that has struggled, Kevin, but watch this play by Werner. See, he stays on the upfield shoulder. Stay there, then knife underneath at the right time while holding on to the receiver with the other hand. That's a good pro move. Excellent tight coverage and how to work in close confines.
Raynaud is back awaiting the Donnie Jones punt. Raynaud. And he was hit and grabbed by the long snapper, John Weeks, and that slowed him down just enough where he was then brought down by Quentin Demps. Slow start for second-year Washington Husky quarterback Jake Locker, down 14-3. Matt Schaub has thrown 2 touchdown passes, one of 54 yards, one of 5 yards, and that's our score. Here comes Locker, and he has been staggering early.
Well, it really, I think they've got to use his ability to get him out of the pocket a little bit more, where he has some greater windows to complete passes like this.
And this one's going to go to Damian Williams, brought down by Danielle Manning to the 48, a catch and run of 18 yards and a first down for Tennessee.
Now, one thing that should come easy for Locker is he's reading man-to-man coverage. You can see Kareem Jackson totally out of position in coverage against Williams, and Locker's just going to pick him apart when he sees that man-to-man coverage.
1st and 10. That was deflected at the line of scrimmage. Who got their hands on that? Maybe Earl Mitchell, number 92, although you'd think 99, but I think it was 92 that was able to deflect it in the middle of that line. Upcoming 2nd down and 10.
But this is what they do. They bat down passes. This is why I think you've got to use the ability of Locker to get out on the edge and roll out. I think it'll be easier to complete passes against this defensive line who's so accustomed to batting down balls at the line of scrimmage. You create a greater window of opportunity to complete passes by using his mobility.
Big Earl is from Houston. He has had a career season so far. 2nd down and 10. Locker on the screws, caught right there. Nate Washington brought down on the play by Jackson. That's a 19-yard pass completion to the 33-yard line of Houston.
Man coverage. Kareem Jackson matched up against Washington. Easy throw, but look at the space. Look at the separation Washington gets against Jackson. Coming right over the middle of the field. Look, that's an easy throw. They cleared out the middle for Washington to come over, and Jackson's got to tighten up the coverage. This is why I believe the secondary has to play a little bit more zone coverage.
1st and 10, Chris Johnson. Earl Mitchell had him. Fumble on the play. It's recovered on the play by Antonio Smith. Off to the races. They say he was down.
I think it was J.J. Watt who caused the hit on Chris Johnson and caused that ball to come out.
I want to see big Antonio take it to the house. Way he runs the ball, but a turnover right there for the Tennessee Titans.
This is a defense chock full of playmakers. There's Watt right there. Let's see what he does. Look at this. Look at Watt. And there, I think, who's that? Yeah, that's J.J. Watt coming in, knocking the ball out.
And he was down.
Yeah, he was down.
But don't throw the flag.
Look at that. Ball's out. Let's see.
Yeah, that's tough. Well, I tell you what, now seeing it in slow motion.
Well, why? Yeah. He was never down.
Yeah, I agree.
Antonio Smith was never down.
They've ruled him down.
They should not have.
Yeah, it was knocked
There's
away.
The ball out.
Yeah.
There's a scoop. Was there some inadvertent whistle? Should not have been.
First down and 10. And here is the handoff, and here comes Tate. Shaw will bring him down with the run out there on first down of 7 yards to the 44. By the way, just wrapping up Chris Johnson, that is his 4th fumble lost, his 5th fumble on the season. That is the most of any running back in the NFL.
And J.J. Watt just continues to be an impact player for this Houston Texans defense. You talked about 5 fumbles. J.J. Watt, he's approaching MVP type status.
That was an inadvertent whistle on that turnover right there. Here is a second down and 3. And Tate with a flag thrown, squirming free, and finally brought down at about the 47-yard line and a pickup of 9 yards.
Offense, number 60. 10-yard penalty. Repeat, second down.
It's going to go on Jones, the guard. Ben Jones, a rookie out of Georgia. Boy, didn't they play well yesterday against Alabama in that SEC championship game. Like we said, they're rotating the right side of that line after losing Brizell, along with Eric Winston, the right tackle. They've had injuries to the right side, so a lot of guys seeing time on the right side of their offensive line.
Absolutely. Andrew Gartner's a guy that's also rotating. They're giving guys some rest. Remember, they came out of that Bears game, so they were pretty much banged up. Then they played 10 quarters of football in a span of 5 days.
Second, 13, Andre Johnson. And McCourty was there to get him. It's a pickup on the play of 6 as we pick up New York and James.
Boomer, a familiar ring to this duo.
Well, it's Brady to Welker. Welker already 9 catches on the day. Here's number 9. Tom Brady, 44 straight games with a TD pass. They're on top of the Dolphins, 14-3.
Kevin and Solid.
And, of course, coming up next Monday, it's going to be that big showdown, the Houston Texans and the New England Patriots on Monday night.
You know, that's going to be a fun one. You're going to get a lot of offense in that shootout.
Kind of a preview, perhaps, of the AFC Championship game. It's third down and 7. Schaub lying to block at the right tackle. Was that deflected at the line? A flag is down where Schaub launched that ball on that 3rd and 7.
Holding, offense, number 68. This penalty is declined.
One of the things that Houston told us is they can rush the passer. This Tennessee defense can.
Yeah, and remember, 7 sacks 1 week ago for this Tennessee Titans defense. And that's why I'm so surprised that the secondary is giving up so many plays, because they do a really good job, as you saw right there, putting pressure on Matt Schaub. They can get to the quarterback with this Titans defense.
Donnie Jones is going to punt to Reyna. More than a third of his punts have been inside the 20. Fair caught at the 9. Another one inside the 20. Nice 51-yard, well-placed punt by Donnie Jones. Chris Johnson coming out. They got to get that offense going, down 14-3. New offensive coordinator who's 32 years of age, and he's got his offense out there again. 1st and 10 from the 10 after the 3 and out by the Houston Texans. Locker, that's deflected at the line, intercepted on the play, picked off by Dobbins. Down to the 4. Interception, another deflection. These Texans are right in your grill.
Kevin, if you're Darrell Loggins, you've got to get Locker and change his launch point. Get him out from behind the line of scrimmage against this Texan defense. They come in. You know they're going to tip passes at the line of scrimmage. Look at that right there. J.J. Watt and Cody. Both of them, tag team. And then it picked off at the back end. This is what they do better than any defense in the National Football League. And so by rolling him out, you got to get him out of the pocket. Get him out on the edges. And they won't bat down balls and create turnovers like we saw in that play there.
Tennessee.
Every turnover, of course, is reviewed. A timeout has been taken by Tennessee, maybe to buy some more time for the trained eyes up in the press box to take a look at it. I don't know what there is to check, because after Cody, who's been out for a while with an injury, deflected the ball, Dobbins picked it up and took it in. Hey, tomorrow it's Exceed in Business. the girls will need some help, some special help, especially when they have uninvited guests. A new Two Broke Girls. That's tomorrow, and it's only on CBS.
Jake Locker is struggling, Kevin. I think by design, O'Dowd Loggins, the new offense coordinator, in my mind, coming in against this defense, getting him out on the perimeter and will be able to complete passes.
First and goal at the 3. And there's not a whole lot right there. There's no gain on the play. Foster.
Yeah, and we said that Locker was struggling. Now 5 of 16 in the ball game. You can see overthrows, but all of these plays are coming with him throwing the ball from the same launch point. That is in the pocket, from behind the line of scrimmage. You can see the inaccuracy thrown behind the intended receiver, and then you see the tip on the last pass attempt by Jake Locker. It was tipped at the line of scrimmage, then interception. The Titans have now turned it over on 2 straight offensive possessions.
Chris Johnson a fumble. Here's Cody, who has the nice defensive play. Missed the last 3 games with rib and back injuries. Second down, goal at the 2. Arian Foster leads the NFL in touchdowns. He'll tack on one more. A 2-yard touchdown run by Arian Foster.
How good is he inside the red zone? he does a good job, I think, of setting up that man on the line of scrimmage. That defender on the end of the line of scrimmage is, watch how he'll set him up, come here, and then bounce it out. And see, he's able to get outside and win on the edge. Good block also by Owen Daniels. 45th touchdown since the 2010 season, the most of any player in the NFL.
Well, he comes in as the 3rd leading rusher today with over 1,000 yards. He's got 13 rushing touchdowns. He's got 2 receiving touchdowns. And he's got the most in the NFL, the extra point away and through from Shane Graham. Foster was there. An interception by Dobbins. A touchdown run by Foster. And the first place Texans are riding right through them. Arian Foster has a touchdown in 14 of his last 15 games. A terrific player. Talked to him yesterday at length. Very engaging and part of the success story of this Houston franchise and how they've moved and become one of the elite in the NFL. By the way, that score right there was the first time since week 1 the Titans have allowed a second quarter touchdown. Foster from 2. It's 21-3, AFC best Houston. And the ensuing kickoff by Graham Raynaud is deep end. It hit the crossbar. That's one of the complaints they've had about Graham. His kickoffs have not been very long, but he got off a doozy right there. Well, nobody knows the game like a quarterback. Break down all the NFL action on NFL Quarterback. NFL Monday Quarterback. That's tomorrow at 6:30 Eastern, only on CBS Sports Network, the 24-hour home of CBS Sports. 1st and 10 from the 20.
And now this offense for the Titans has to get going. First, I think you start by cranking up Chris Johnson in the running game. And then, as we said so many times, you got to roll out the young quarterback to create throwing lanes.
Chris Johnson held with not much there as he comes up the middle. Barrett Ruud was the guy that got a hand on him. It's a gain of 2 to the 22.
Well, you make in-season changes, fire one offense coordinator, and look, the offense is struggling. See, last 4 possessions, 2 punts, and then 2 turnovers. Once on the fumble, and then the Jake Locker interception, setting up the most recent touchdown for the Houston Texans. O'Dowd Loggins. You know, he scripted those first few plays, and now you have to adjust on the fly by what the defense is giving you.
It's tough. Second down, long 7. Kendall Wright with Roos out there leading the way, and a rude tackle for the Texans. They just signed him off the street. Barrett Ruud, 13-yard catch and run to the 35 and a first down.
And what is this defense giving them? Blitz with man-to-man coverage. And so they go with the bubble screen to get the ball out of the hands of the quarterback quickly, create an easy throw for Jake Locker. I thought that was a well-designed play. The more man-to-man coverage you get, Kevin, take some shots down the field. Locker's got a really good arm. He can get it down the football field.
1st and 10. Here comes Watt. J.J. Watt. Who cares if you lose your head? Salute him and record a sack. That's number 15 all-time record for the Houston Texans. He's something else.
Well, they wanted to go deep, but watch as he works his way to the quarterback. He goes through traffic, steps over his own man, and still finds his way to the quarterback.
He joins the late Reggie White as the only player in NFL history with 15 sacks and 13 deflections in the same season. He's been ill this week, too. Didn't practice on Wednesday and Thursday.
I love his approach. He says when he comes to a football game, he's not coming for a pillow fight.
Second down at 16 with big pillows. Tony goes again. Antonio Smith. He leads the way. Pull out your sword. Don Quixote. Loss of 9 on the play. They come at you from 18 different angles.
Oh, we had a lot of fun talking with him last night. Antonio Smith.
He's a good guy, isn't he? Huh?
Oh, he's great. And he talked about that Bears game, how they took offense of all the conversation was being had about the Bears defense. They wanted to show everyone how good they are.
Offset. Holding defense number 51.
Easy now, you're on
Holding
Mike.
offense number 60. By rule, these penalties will offset. Replay, second down.
That's our friend Tony Careni. He's the one who had unfortunately, the obscenity that got out over the air a couple weeks ago in Indianapolis.
Well, you can see the pass rush there. And look at Smith. That's just great effort. He gets past Otto, or I should say Ben Jones, the right guard, and works his way to the quarterback. Tremendous effort on the play.
The thing about Antonio Smith, he's been the defensive captain for the last 3 years. Highly respected in that locker room. Second down, 16. Pocket crumbling again. Outside they go with a nice hit from Brandon Harris. The ball was grabbed by Damian Williams. It's a 6-yard gain to the 36.
Who said this was a passing league? We got some defensive candidates for MVP. Look at Alden Smith, 16.5 sacks coming into today. As you can see the numbers. Charles Peanut Tillman, 2 interceptions. He's forced 7 fumbles this season. That leads the National Football League. And, of course, the Houston Texans, J.J. Watt, 14.5 sacks coming into today. You talk about already has one. He already's got some batted balls as well. And those equate to interceptions and turnovers.
3rd and 10. Locker chased by Watt on the move. Needs the 45 for the first down. Gets a block on the play from Kendall Wright and races down to the Texans 49. Picks up 15 on the play and a first down.
See, he can do this, Kevin. He can break down defenses. He's so athletic. He's got great mobility. And watch, J.J. Watt's going to get too far up the field, and then so he'll slip right underneath. And watch him run away from Watt. And I believe this is what you have to do, particularly against a defense like the Houston Texans that play a lot of man-to-man coverage. Once the receivers get down the field, their backs are turned to the quarterback. I think Locker can make some big plays using his legs.
McClain is coming on that defensive line. J.J. going to take a break. First down and 10. Chris Johnson hit and brought down by Barrett Ruud, who started 9 games for the Titans a season ago. No gain on the play. They stay at the 49.
I'm very surprised that we haven't seen one rollout play called by Dowell Loggins for Jake Locker against a defense that's known for getting hands up, obstructing the vision of quarterbacks playing in the pocket. And Locker's got the athleticism that we've already showed you. When you talk about tailoring plays to players' ability, I think that's one thing you have to do with Jake Locker.
Second down long, 9.
Here's one.
Oh, yeah, just as you talk about it, huh? Oh, run it again. And then he's chased out of bounds by Jared Crick. He is in the Nebraska top 10 all-time in sacks. That's a 3-yard gain. These linebackers and what they've had to do because of the injuries is something.
Oh, look at this. They get out of the pocket. And this is what you have to do. At least he has an option now. He shouldn't take hits like that. But you're right. These linebackers for the Houston Texans, they're rotating as well, just like what we talked about with the running backs, Kevin.
5 in the secondary for the, in fact, now 5 in the secondary. Watt is in there, 3rd down and 6. Looking into the nickel. Locker, and that was just dropped. The coverage by Rock Carmichael. The ball intended for the rookie out of Baylor, Kendall Wright. He was a record setter there with RG3. Incomplete pass. Flag is down.
Illegal contact. Defense number 26. 5-yard penalty. Automatic. First down.
You began the telecast today talking about all these injuries. All right, with Brooks Reed out with a groin injury, so they got Merciless, who will start at the weak side linebacker for Connor Barwin. Barwin will shifting over now from the weak side to the strong side, filling in for the injured Reed. Sharpton again making the calls, taking the place of Brady James. A lot of moving parts on that defense.
Lots of moving parts, and when you're without Jonathan Joseph, I think it renders your secondary even that much more vulnerable.
8th play of the drive, 1st and 10, Chris Johnson. Trying to pick and poke his way in there. Jim Dobbins had an interception a little bit earlier. He was the one that makes the stop right there. He's been starting at inside linebacker for Brian Cushing, who's out certainly. And we talked about Cushing, a season-ending torn ACL for the Texans in Week 5 against the Jets. That was a tough one. That was back in early October. Brooks Reed out indefinitely after a groin strain suffered last week against the Lions. Looked like he was shot on the play, and Wade Phillips has really had to move the chess pieces around the board.
Green 8. Green 8, go.
2nd down and 6. Locker hit as he throws, and that was deflected. I think Danielle Manning got a hand on it. They were going for Cook, but Manning, who has really played some good football of late, is the one to deflect it.
Now watch the route by Cook. I think you've got to drop this one over the top, Kevin. See, he throws that on the flat line. That allows Danielle Manning to come and bat it down. Now the pressure, of course, didn't allow him to step into it because J.J. Watt was nipping at the heels of Jake Locker. I think that's why the ball wasn't thrown maybe as accurately as Locker would have hoped, allowing Cook to maybe make a play on the ball.
Now 3rd down and 6. There's that moving pocket you were talking about on the move, and that's for Damian Williams. And he runs into some guy on the sideline, and it's incomplete coverage on the play by Harris. The guy appears to be okay, and that guy is not okay. That's Williams and holding on to the hamstring, and that's not good.
You know, when you roll out, I think you would want to roll out to the long side of the field and not to the short side of the field. And that's what they ran out of real estate really on the play. But he is right-handed, so you want to roll him out to his right side and allow him to get the easy completion. But they just ran out of real estate. That's rendered the pass incomplete.
They're going to go for it on 4th and 6, and why not? You're 4 and 7. You've lost 3 of your last 4. 4th and 6. They need the 30. Delay a game.
Delay game. Offense.
Wow.
5-yard penalty. Remains 4th down.
Remember, Dowell Loggins, and you could see Munchak disappointed. And now he said, we're going to have to punt it. You see, this is a new offense course. It's the first time he's ever called games as a play caller. There's going to be some growing pains. You know, Munchak said it doesn't have to light the world on fire. We do want to see improvement, but everyone, including the new offensive coordinator, is under evaluation for these final 5 games of the 2012 season.
First penalty against Tennessee, so they're going to have to punt to the Texans, who have won a franchise record 5 consecutive road games. Kern, and Martin's going to let it bounce at the 5. Campbell tried to save it and did. Did he step out of bounds? He may have stepped out of bounds on the play. There's Tracy Wilson tried to keep it in. Let's see.
Well, he's going to be inbounds here. Look, see, he bats it back. Right there.
Look at on the chalk. No, he's.
Oh, that's good.
He did a good job
inside the 1 yard line.
They're talking about it just to see, and the discussion ensues here. Campbell's the one who was the one to bat it. Did a very nice play to get downfield and cover that punt. With 2:17 to play here in the second quarter. That's where they're going to begin at the 1.
If you're the Houston Texans, you have to understand the only way you can give life to these Tennessee Titans is if you make mistakes, particularly a crucial moment like this. You don't want to give the ball back to him right here in the shadows of your end zone.
Schaub marooned it as 1, 1st and 10. Here comes Morgan. There's the pass. Graham, who was drilled on the play with a big-time hit from Ayers. Garrett Graham, who's having a very solid season as the second tight end, picks up 7 yards, a bit of breathing space out near the 8-yard line. We've reached the 2-minute warning. Schaub has 2 touchdown passes. Foster has a 2-yard touchdown run. 2-minute warning, and Solomon Schaub has hit 7 different receivers this afternoon.
And he may take a shot to try to get more points here inside the final 2 minutes of the half.
2nd down and 3. Looking for his main target, Andre Johnson, breaking a Griffin tackle and takes it out, slashing his way to the 30. Brought down by Werner. 21-yard catch and run, 1st down.
Kevin, the Houston Texans in their 11 games so far this year, they have 7 scores on the final possession of the first half inside of 2 minutes. So they're very good at working the 2-minute clock to get themselves in scoring position.
1st down and 10. Johnson again dancing with Verner. There's the first down to the 41-yard line. 11-yard catch right there by 31-year-old and 5-time Pro Bowler Andre Johnson.
He did a wonderful job of fighting to get the first down, but he was also trying to get out of bounds, and Alteron Verner, he couldn't keep him from making the catch, could not keep Johnson from creating a new set of downs, but he did keep him in bounds of course, they have to burn a timeout.
One thing is about Johnson, and you talk about where his place might be in the landscape of some of the game's great receivers. He's on pace right now, Solomon, for his third 1,500-yard receiving season. It would tie him with Marvin Harrison, and Jerry Rice has 4. If he gets 1,500, he'll have 3 in his nice Texan career.
And remember, he, along with Jerry Rice, are the only wide receivers in NFL history to lead the league in receiving yards in back-to-back seasons.
1st and 10. Good time for Shaw. Right through the hands of Casey, covered on the play by Shaw. Casey caught a short touchdown pass earlier. The Verizon halftime report being put together for you right now in our CBS studios in New York. JB and Company with scores, news, and highlights. That's next on the Verizon halftime report here on CBS. 2nd down and 10. A win today for Kubiak and his Texans. They will clinch a playoff berth, but they will not clinch the AFC South.
Watch a little play action deal here, because anytime you can fake it to Arian Foster and get these linebackers sucked up to the line of scrimmage, they'll drag Andre Johnson clear across the other side of the field and try to go deep.
Bears was moving on that 2nd down and 10.
Delay game. Offense. 5-yard penalty. Remains 2nd down.
No need there for a delay of game.
Every time I look at Schaub, I can't get out of my mind 3 things. Sue with the kick 10 days ago, and then what Von Miller and Joe Mays did to him on successive plays in Denver earlier in the season. Those are 2 of the hardest hits I have seen a quarterback take all season long.
Oh, he is a tough football player playing quarterback. 2nd
down, 15 with the penalty in tow, and here he goes on the move. He's got to get to the 50 for the first and slides to about, they say, the 43. He scrambles for 8. He's got a timeout with which to work.
He was looking for the long ball to Andre Johnson. See him looking there, and then he had to tuck it because it was well covered on the back end by this Titan secondary. Now on 3rd and 7. Of course, they'll look to try to get the first down here, but they're running out of time on this possession.
5 defensive backs, 3rd down and 7. Schaub. Foster. Witherspoon's got a beat on him. Shy of the first down. Good chase across the way by Jordan Babineau, who led the team in tackles a season ago. It's a gain of 4 by the running back, Arian Foster out of Tennessee, and undrafted out of Tennessee, too.
Give the Titans defense credit. We told you that the Texans were so good at scoring in the final 2 minutes of the first half. They're going to force this Houston Texans offense to punt. And I think at halftime, they've got to really decide what they're going to do on offense with Jake Locker. And remember, a new play caller. Get the ball over to Chris Johnson, allow him to manufacture yards in the run game, but they've got to get him out of the pocket where he can either have the run-pass option.
Donnie Jones to punt once again for the Houston Texans. Darius Reynaud at the 14. Slowed down by Dobbins and then finally hit by Nading and brought down. That Nading is some kind of athlete. When he was in Colorado in high school, he was all-state in football, basketball, and baseball. 7-yard return. Hey, Saturday, the Home Depot College Football on CBS puts one of the grandest spectacles in all of sports on the air. It's all guts, all grits, all glory. It's Army-Navy, and it all starts with college football today. Next week, right here on CBS. Hope you enjoyed the Southeastern Conference Championship game last night, Alabama and Georgia from Atlanta. It was a good one. Literally down to the final seconds. 1st and 10. Tennessee with 2 timeouts. That's Jared Cook getting it from the quarterback, and Glover Quinn was right there. It is a gain of 7. The gain to the 30, and a flag is down back at the 15-yard line.
Illegal use of the hands, hands to the face, defense number 99. 5-yard penalty with an automatic first down.
Watt.
A.J. Watt, we told you he's that rare combination of talent. And he's got a relentless motor. Of course, you know, he's very active. He's very physical. You see him right there. See that? That's what they're going to call, look, hand to the face. See that head come up right there?
Where they tell us, yeah, you see all the sacks, but his run defense is spectacular. And they're right. First down and 10, Locker. Pocket crumbles, and down he goes. Hit on the play and brought down by Merciless. Whitney Merciless, who led college football a season ago at Illinois with 16 sacks, brings him down.
And watch Watt push the pocket, and Merciless will peel underneath. Look at the push there, and then see, he just comes right back. That's a combination of your tackle and ends working well together. Pressure in the face of the quarterback forces him to step up, and then Whitney Merciless, he just peels right back around and come away with the sack.
That's his 4th sack in 5 games, and of course winning the Ted Hendricks Award for the Illini last year and setting a Big Ten record with 9 forced fumbles. He makes things happen on defense.
Just another playmaker on this defense, right?
Man. Second down and 11. Walker gets a roost block at that left tackle. Chris Johnson chased by the linebacker Connor Barwin. Out of bounds he goes, and gain of 3 on the play. I'd go out of bounds too at the 29-yard line if I saw Barwin barreling down on him.
But Barwin was thinking, are you kidding me? I got to chase down Chris Johnson? he knows it's not going to happen. It took the out of bounds line to stop Chris Johnson.
Now that guy's a great athlete too. This Barwin, he played college tight end at Cincinnati. He played some college basketball for the Bearcats. That guy's he's got some ability. He can run up and down.
He is phenomenal.
Third down and 8. Locker, oh, that was deflected. And that is intercepted and picked off on the play by Quinn. Glover Quinn. And that is the end of the half. It's the 3rd turnover and a disastrous first half for Munchak's Tennessee Titans. 2 touchdown passes by Shaw. Foster with a touchdown run. It's 21-3 Houston. You're watching the NFL on CBS, the home to Super Bowl 47. You're listening to a Pepsi NFL anthem. Download this song and other NFL-inspired anthems at PepsiAnthems.com. We are in Nashville, where the Texans are riding roughshod over the Titans, 21-3. What do you think of the first half?
Well, how about the Houston Texans? Remember, their defense had struggled in their last 2 ball games. They made a statement with 3 forced turnovers in the first half of the ball game, and Matt Schaub and the offense are doing their usual thing by putting points on the board. You have to love the way that they're playing here in the first half of the ball game. He came out, took them right down the field on their first possession of the game, going to Lestar Jean on a 54-yard touchdown strike, and then handing the ball off to Arian Foster. He's able to get a touchdown. And then we talked about the turnovers, the batted balls at the line of scrimmage. The takeaways have been constant. Jake Locker has struggled even with their new offensive coordinator. You can see the numbers in the first half for the Houston Texans. 222 total yards of offense. They forced 3 turnovers against the Titans. And then talk about the quarterback sacks. It's just been phenomenal for this Houston Texans defense. It's a complete team effort for the Houston Texans, Kevin.
Well, Matt Schaub has been terrific. 7 different receivers is what he has accomplished in that first half, 15-24. And the interesting thing, though, if there's any little issue for the Texans, they have only scored 7 points off of 3 Titan turnovers.
Yeah, but if they would have had more time at the end of the first half, they probably would have turned that one into points.
Raynaud will get it. And our second half is underway here in Nashville. Going outside. Looked like he found some room. And he's being chased, and he was taken down on the play. And with the hit defensively, Brian Brayman, after he slipped out of the DeVere Posey grasp earlier in the return. 35-yard return.
And if you're the Tennessee Titans, I got to believe that they had a conversation at halftime wanting to turn, of course, this kickoff return into great field position for their quarterback, Jake Locker. They're at the 36-yard line. Now let's see if they use him to pound the running game and get him out on the edges to make plays.
Green 20. Green 20, go.
It's 1st and 10, and this is Chris Johnson. Hit by Watt. And driven back to the 32 on a loss of 2. Another tackle for a loss for Watt.
You know, Watt wasn't feeling well last night.
No.
He came in and went straight up to his room. Watch him just knife right in. Was able to get in on that play. You talk about it being a one-cut read and run. Not much to read there. It's J.J. Watt. He's making plays, not just getting to the quarterback, not just getting sacks or tips at the line of scrimmage. You mentioned it. He can play the run equally as well.
You should all feel so bad. 2nd down and 12. Barwin and Antonio Smith pull it out again, wave it around, and slice him up with a 3rd sack by the Houston Texans today. They'll put the ball back at the 25.
Well, they had 2 sacks on the young, talented quarterback in the first half. There you see a 3rd. He's making plays. You've seen him get to the quarterback. We've seen J.J. Watt get to the quarterback.
Funny rascal, isn't he?
And you're encouraging him, too.
You got a guy with some personality, man. It's great to see. It's great to see 3rd and 21. They need the 46-yard line. Chris Johnson finding a seam and getting some nice blocks before he takes it right up the gut. And he is brought down eventually on the play by Glover Quinn. It is a gain of 12, well shy of the 1st down. So they get up to the 36-yard line. They got to punt the ball in their first second half possession, 3 and out.
So whatever the talk was at halftime by Mike Munchak goes out the window just simply because J.J. Watt, he's knifing in and destroying the running game by the Titans, and Antonio Smith getting sacks on the quarterback, dismantling their passing game.
Texans coming in have won 5 straight. And 5 straight road wins, too, is what they bring in here. Is the best record in the AFC. Punt coming from Kern. Deep back, they've got Keyshawn Martin. Here he goes from the 16-yard line. Dancing a bit and finding a seam and doused on the play. 47-yard punt and a 12-yard return. Yeah, the Texans are slicing them up okay with Antonio on that line. After the 3 and out, here come the Texans now at the 29, 1st down and 10. And it's incomplete. They were looking for Owen Daniels. Now it'll be 2nd down and 10. Got a sports fan on your gift list? CBSSports.com shop has officially licensed NFL gear and NCAA gear from over 500 schools and 3-day shipping on every order at shop.cbssports.com. 2nd down and 10. Arian Foster, good cut. And then he was waylaid coming from the side. Was a high pick out of Georgia Tech a couple years ago. Derek Morgan, it is a gain of 7 on the play, and they're going to put him at the 36.
And that was only the 7th carry of the game for Arian Foster. We told you they were going to give him a little bit of rest. They've been able to catch the ball coming out of the backfield on 3 receptions, but Kubiak is going to use all his talent, see what they can do to convert the 3rd and 3. They're not afraid to run it on 3rd down with Arian Foster.
Into the nickel. Good block by the right tackle, and this is Foster, and he's got the 1st down, the catch and run. He was finally taken down by Ayers and hit by Casey, a gain of 8 on 3rd and 3. He's up to the 43.
You know, he's so good at understanding where the chains are. They convert, and they just go with one motion. They flip it back to him, but even with Titans defenders nipping at his heels, he still runs with just a great patience. And I'm sure as you're watching him, you're like, hurry up and hit the 1st down marker, but you know, he's fast, but he doesn't hurry. He's, I think, got excellent patience and an excellent feel for the game, whether he's running the ball or catching it coming out of the backfield.
Justin Forsett is coming the game. And he gets the handoff on 1st and 10. Into a pile. Looked like Morgan lost his helmet right there. And also with the stop after a gain of 2 is Zach Brown. He's up to the 46-yard line. Every time I say Zach Brown, I want to put band at the end of that name. It's 2nd down and 8. We're right in country music territory out here in Nashville. 46-yard line. Texans have scored on a 54-yard touchdown catch and run by Gene, and it was beautiful early in the game, and then a short touchdown pass to Casey. 2nd and 8 right here. They get by Brown, the nimble feet of Schaub, the pass to Gene, And the flag is thrown. The catch at the 40. The coverage by Alteron Werner. 14-yard pickup as it stands right now.
What a throw. Woof. Great patience by Schaub and a throw and catch to Gene.
Pass interference, offense number 18. 10-yard penalty, repeat, second down.
Now you know why Gene was so wide open.
Yep.
He got
a little separation.
Got a little separation, yeah, in the illegal way. Pushing off the defender. Now we're going to be forced to play, second and very long.
18. I don't think Gary was at all worried about the team overlooking today and thinking about the big one next week in Foxborough.
Remember, they're gearing up for a postseason run. They understand that some of these gritty games in November and December is really what will toughen them and get them ready for the postseason.
Second and 18. This is Foster. Flag is down as he navigates through all kinds of defensive traffic and chased out of bounds by Will Witherspoon. 18-yard run.
Holding, offense, number 74. 10-yard penalty, repeat, second down.
All right, let's take you to our CBS studios in New York and James.
Boom, nip and tuck in Detroit.
Young Colts are fun to watch. Watch this nifty run by Vic Ballard. 11 yards. Makes a couple guys miss. He goes in. 23-21 Lions over the Colts.
Kevin and Solomon.
He's a rookie, Ballard. He's a good-looking rookie, in fact, for the Colts.
Oh, very good one. And the Colts just getting better as the season progresses.
Well, they've had gains of 14 and 18 yards on this drive, wiped out with penalties. Second down and 28. They're going to hand it off here and look at the dancing moves here of Justin Forsett. The ex-Seahawk bouncing outside, breaking tackles and takes it to the 41. Chased by Griffin out of bounds. 14-yard gain when probably he should have lost about a yard or so on the play.
Well, we told you that Forsett has earned the right to carry the ball more. Watch this play here. Now, this is just keeping hope alive right here. Look at the footwork. Just continue to move the feet, work the feet, and then run to daylight. It's just a nifty run. There seemingly was nothing on that play, and he found a way to create a positive gain.
Signed in June. All 5'8" of them. Here's 3rd and 14 right now for the Texans. They need the 46-yard line of Tennessee. You see Foster back in the backfield. Great time. And he's going to be a little bit wide that time, and he's looking for Owen Daniels, and they're not going to get anything accomplished. They're going to have to punt the ball on the possession.
What you love about Matt Schaub is that he doesn't throw interceptions. But see, okay, there's Walter right there, and he came off and tried to get it over to Owen Daniels.
We had a talk last night with Matt. Very confident in what he's doing with this team and how they're playing and his role on it. And the Jones punt to Reno. On the move. And it was a punt return of 21 yards, a punt of 47 yards. And there was a flag, as you can see, on that play between these two teams from the AFC South. Tennessee has not beaten a team within the division yet. And they're trailing here this afternoon, as you can see, 21-3, mid-stages of the third quarter.
Illegal block in the back, receiving team number 33. During the return, 10-yard penalty, first down.
All right, so Tennessee will gear up and try to keep the effects of Justin James Watt out of their backfield. He's already had his fingerprints on this one. The great Ryman Auditorium, the original home of the Grand Ole Opry here in Nashville, Tennessee, on a 60-plus degree day. 1st and 10 after the punt, and this is going to go the way of the side with another deflection. Was that Watt? Did Watt get his hand on that? That would be deflection number 14 this season by J.J.
Justin James making plays. Just got to love the way he just continues to show up.
Look at this guy.
How many times is he going to be allowed to bat down balls? When you have a mobile quarterback, we talked about him getting out from behind the line of scrimmage and changing his launch point.
2nd down and 10. That is dropped by Britt with the coverage by Sharpton incomplete. He's almost redefining the position in terms of what now you expect from a defensive end in pass coverage.
All players across the National Football League on the defensive line are stealing a page from his book. He clearly has created a new way, I think, to harass quarterbacks in the NFL.
That's Roos down. That's the other tackle. They've already lost one tackle. The right tackle, Dave Stewart, with a broken leg. Here's Roos down. We'll update this at 9:13 in the third. It's 3rd and 10 after Stewart walked off under his own power. He got by Antonio Smith. Here comes Jake Locker. He's breaking tackles, and he's finally grabbed by Brandon Harris. And he's got the first down on the play with a 15-yard. Did he fumble on the play? And they say he did. Another turnover, the 4th. It was picked up by Merciless. The 4th turnover by the Tennessee Titans.
He's saying that he was down. And half the guys are saying, yes, he was down. But, of course, the Texans aren't going to let him get away with that one. So they're saying it was a turnover. There you see right now. He's falling forward.
And he landed on the body. I don't think he would
did.
Right, yeah.
Landed on the legs of the defender.
Harris. How about that?
They're going to award the ball over to the Houston Texans. And Mike Munchak's not going to challenge it. He was able to look up at the big screen here.
But you can't challenge.
They'll look at that anyway.
Yep.
They'll review it.
Can't review. They will review. You can't challenge a turnover like that or a scoring play. So they buzz our official, our referee today, Tony Correnti, and he'll come over to the.
He was already looking at it at the big jumbotron here and taking a look at it right there. See, I don't think he's down, Kevin. Remember, it was ruled a fumble on the field.
All right, the turnover is under review. We're in Nashville, 9:01 in the third.
After reviewing the play, the ruling on the field will stand as a fumble recovery by Houston, first down.
The reason why it's going to be upheld as a fumble, and watch, Locker's going to fall on the legs of Harris, and we're going to be able to show you clear visual evidence that he's not down. But yet, see, you can see he falls on top of the defender. And look, here's the ball. Ball's out, and Locker's still not on the ground.
It's a 1st and 10, 4 turnovers for the Titans, 3 in their own zone. Arian Foster. Daniels with the block. Tackle made by Will Witherspoon. It's a gain of 6. He's down to the 30-yard line.
Well, this Tennessee Titans offense has been a number of miscues, a couple of fumbles, a couple of interceptions. They've allowed 3 sacks and 3 drop passes, so the ineptitude on offense has really hurt this football team, and it has not gotten better despite having a new play caller on the offensive side of the ball.
It's 2nd down and 4. And a good cut by Foster. Got him a couple. Oh, he fumbled the ball. It's loose. And looks like the Texans may have jumped back on it on that 2nd and 4. And send Derek Marks. He is getting off of Foster, who I think he was the one to gobble it back in. They push him to the 27-yard line.
Yeah, Foster rarely puts the ball on the ground. He looked like he was down.
Yeah.
And the ball sort of became dislodged. Titans doing the right thing. Ray cannot see the ball, almost knocked out. As he was starting to lose it, he regained it. Then he hit the ground, and the ball came out for good, even though he recovered it for a 2nd time.
Couple tight ends on 3rd and 2. Schaub, he's chased by Morgan. He hits Foster. And then Foster is brought down by McCourty. Jason McCourty with a good pursuit. A loss of 5. They'll push him back to the 32, and they'll try for 3.
Kevin, whenever those running backs slip out of the backfield, they want the ball right away. The longer the quarterback holds on to it, it gives the defense time to react and swarm. By the time that ball hit the hands of Arian Foster, the defenders were draped all over him.
By the way, Garrett Graham, the tight end, we just got word from the sideline. Their 2nd tight end has a head injury, so he will not return today. Concussion, obviously. And if there's anything more to report on him, we'll give it to you. Here's a 50-yard try by Shane Graham. It is away. It is good. He's played for 10 teams in 13 years. And he comes up with 3. They cash in on the turnover and build their lead 24-3. Well, Graham had a 50-yard field goal. Kicking has kind of been an issue with this Texan team. He's missed some ones that could have won games in regulation.
Oh, absolutely. Got a 2nd chance in overtime in Detroit on Thanksgiving Day.
Jacksonville as well. There's the kickoff. The length of his kickoffs have been questioned, but that one goes out. So he's had Some good touchbacks today with long kickoffs. And the Titans will start it out Wednesday in primetime. JB, Collinsworth, Sims. All those names you know. They showcase America's favorite game with their own unique style. It's Inside the NFL. Wednesdays on Showtime, 9 Eastern, 8 Central. On the 20-yard line, 1st and 10 for Jake Locker, the number 8 overall pick a season ago. Beat out Matt Hasselbeck in training camp. That veteran is still on this team.
Green 8. Green and go.
Locker hit and brought down. Flag is there. Barrett Ruud with the sack. And they drive him back to the 12. 4th sack. Loss of 8. Flag.
Holding, offense number 72. This penalty is declined. 2nd down.
It's Deuce Latui on the guard position.
Barrett Ruud's the middle linebacker. He comes right up the gut. And they don't even pick him up. Look at this.
Oof.
The protections are breaking down. The quarterback is being hit, hurried, and harassed, and making a number of mistakes. This offense with the Titans is looking pretty bad today.
By the way, Bryce McCain is out with a left foot injury. We're just told from the sideline. 2nd down and 18. And outside it goes here. This is Kendall Wright. Nice open field tackle right there by Glover Quinn. It is a catch and run of 6 to the 18 to New York and James.
Chicago getting it done.
We'll take a look at Matt Forte. He lines up wide receiver down here at the left. Low little slant pattern. It was ruled down at the 1. Lovie Smith asked for a replay, and he got the answer he wanted. Touchdown. Bears, they lead 14-7, 14-10 over the Seahawks.
Nip and tuck, Kevin and Solly.
Get your voice back, Boomer. We need you tomorrow night. Boomer and I will be in New York in Washington for the Giants and the Redskins on Monday Night Radio. 3rd and 12. Pocket collapsing. Locker running for his life. Hit, brought down, merciless. Back at the 13-yard line. Starting today and looking everything but a rookie that he is. He has been very, very good with his defensive play.
Now watch Locker. Once you get out of the pocket, you've got to see Merciless bearing down on you. Why are you still holding on to the football? We talked to him about this, Kevin. Bad things happen when quarterbacks hold on to the football. He's flushed out of the pocket. Now you just got to get rid of it. And you see Merciless coming right at you. Get rid of the football. Don't hold on to that one. Once you're out of the pocket, you're allowed to just throw that thing right out of bounds.
Boy, he's got a great name, too. I'm Merciless.
He was merciless on that play.
He was. Here it comes. Keyshawn Martin running around in circles and getting the block and finding some room and shoved out of bounds by Craig Stevens. Flag. It's back at the 38. And we'll see what that is all about with 4:56 to play here in the 3rd. And the Texans in complete control. Although they will probably tell you they would like to have done more with some of the turnovers they've been given today, numbering 4, 3 in Tennessee territory.
Personal foul, illegal block below the waist, number 20, during the return. 15-yard penalty, 1st down.
That's Rock Carmichael. All right, let's go to my Monday night buddy, Boomer Esiason with James in New York for this update.
His voice is still good, Kevin.
Well, here's something you don't see very often. That's a running touchdown for the Green Bay Packers. First rushing TD in 7 games. They take the lead, 20-14. Packers right now over the Vikings. See you tomorrow night, handsome.
Okay. Thanks. I'll be looking for you. He'll come in on Boomer 1, flying in from New York. All right, here we go. A change now from the 24. 1st and 10 job, and he gives off to Justin Forsett. Look at this guy run. Breaking tackles. Griffin gets him in the secondary. The Austin native brings him down at the 35. A burst of 11 and a 1st down.
Justin Forsett, we showed you the footwork on his previous run. Watch this one. The cut back, eluding tacklers, and Griffin barely gets him down there. He's doing a really good job, I think, spelling Arian Foster, allowing Gary Kubiak's offense to stay on schedule with a bevy of running backs rotating in.
1st down and 10. Forsett again. Brown with the block to seal the edge, but even the speed of Forsett could not get him outside. Derek Marks brings him down. No gain on the play.
And Gary Kubiak in his 7 seasons, the patience they've shown as the team has gotten incrementally better since 2006. Had the dip in 2010, but then you can see back-to-back seasons in 2011 and this year where they've won 10 games. If they win today, 11 wins will be an all-time single-season high
Yep.
for the franchise. So he's got this team going. Remember, it took him some years to get the defense going, get them caught up to the offense. And I think he's as fine of an offensive coach we have in our league.
It's 2nd down and 10. Tate was in the backfield. Here goes Schaubs, and Derek Marks has got a beat on him, and he'll just throw it away. The thing that we mentioned to Gary talking to him yesterday here in Nashville was the great patience that the owner and the GM, Rick Smith, have made. They've invested in the process, and while it may not happen fast enough for some, it has been almost a model for the rest of the NFL.
And I think that, and there you take a look at Mr. McNair and Rick Smith. Boy, they've done a wonderful job. I think it's a class organization.
I like Rick Smith, man.
I think Kubiak gave them a lot to hang their hat on. Remember, Kubiak is the only NFL coach with an NFL passing champion, a rushing champion, and receiving champion in the last 5 years. So, talking about some prolific playmakers in his offense.
3rd and 10. Good block by Ryan Harris, the right tackle, but out of the reach of the lunging Owen Daniels, who can't get the ball. Pretty good coverage on the play. Griffin, the safety, was back there. 4 plays punt now for Schaub and this Houston Texan offense.
And one more on the leadership of the Houston Texans. I think they're served as a model, as we've seen in Green Bay and in Pittsburgh and in New England. I think this is one of those next great franchises because they do it the right way. They build, of course, through the draft. They make smart moves in free agency when they brought in Jonathan Joseph. Everyone else went out chasing Nnamdi Asomugha, and they had smart money on Jonathan Joseph.
Well said, and you're right on the money, and that's going to be into the end zone. Donnie can't keep it in. So it'll be a touchback to the 20 on a 64-yard rocket sent up by Jones. Last week, Tennessee Titan Mark Mariani and Gerald McGrath visited St. Jude Children's Hospital in Memphis as part of the league's Play 60 campaign. The new relationship between the NFL and St. Jude hopes to give all children the chance to play 60. The league made a $100,000 donation to St. Jude. I don't know if there's a more worthy area to give your money to than what they do in Memphis at St. Jude's Children's Hospital. Started by Danny Thomas, continued on by his daughter Marlo Thomas, and now the NFL is on board. It's a great charity. 1st and 10. From the 20 for Jake Locker. Hesitancy, but the ball is caught by Kenny Britt, a former #1 pick out of Rutgers. Merciless is there, Sharpton is there, Quinn is there. It's a gain of 6, and he makes his first catch, does Kenny Britt today.
Kevin, Locker has such a strong arm. We haven't seen them take any shots down the field all day. Against a Texan secondary, to be honest, has given up a lot of big plays as of late.
2nd and 4. There he slings one downfield. There is the tight end. That's Cook. He was hit by Harris. It's a pickup of 12. It is a 1st down. He's up to the 38.
You see they're having a conversation in that Texan secondary, leaving. As you can see, Connor Barwin left the window open underneath Cook. You can see the hit right there on Locker. He's taking a beating to that.
It's 1st and 10 for Locker. Here he
There's a
goes.
shot.
Oh, and he's got Wright. And he's got the ball. At the 25, he beats Brandon Harris. They'll put the ball at the 24, a 38-yard catch and run, a 1st down.
Tennessee Titans, what took you so long? Well, this is a secondary that we said had come in, having given up a ton of big plays over their last 2 games, and we get late in the 3rd quarter before Locker takes any shots with that strong arm down the field.
1st and 10, looking to go deep again. Here he's got Cook, the 15, the 10. He breaks a Manning tackle. He takes him inside the 5. Glover, Quinn makes the stop. A flag is down, a catch and run to the 3 of 21 yards. Let's see what that flag is all about.
Holding. Offense, number 60. 10-yard penalty. Repeat 1st down.
That is the new center, Kevin Matthews, who has taken the place of Velasco, who is now moved to the right tackle because of the injury to Michael Roos.
We talked about the strong arm of Locker. We've seen him, Kevin, in practice throw some rainbows. Look at this one down the field. I like that throw. I would have loved to have seen it earlier in the ball game to Kendall Wright. He can get on top of the defense. And anytime you get man-to-man coverage, single high safety, you got to take more shots like that to get the ball down the field.
Roos has come back, and now they've switched everything. They've taken out the guy who the penalty was on, Matthews. They put Velasco back at the center, and here is Roos back at the left tackle, 1st and 20. And they go deep down the near side. They've got Britt for a touchdown. He beat Kareem Jackson. That is a 34-yard touchdown pass by Jake Locker.
Oh, that's what you have to do, Kevin. I think anytime you get the single high, one-on-one to the outside, go to your best playmakers. This is what we thought they would do coming in as they had Kenny Britt matched up against Kareem Jackson. He wins right away. Kareem Jackson could not impede his progress once he left the line of scrimmage, did not get the jam, didn't bump him coming off the line, and Britt runs right by him for a touchdown.
Well, Locker goes deep. They find success.
Well, we've been asking for.
Yeah. You saw the third touchdown reception there by Kenny Britt, who had the ACL blown in Game 3 last year, had it scoped in June. Still coming back, they say. Baroas will put on one more. 1:34 to play in the third. Britt gets the 34-yard touchdown pass. Wright had a 38-yard pass earlier in the drive from quarterback Jake Locker.
The one thing young quarterbacks got to read early. See, right here, come outside, and they've got, what, single high safety because we got one coming down in the box here. Now go ahead and roll it, and now that's an easy read. You and I can make this play, Kevin, and see Kareem Jackson doesn't get the jam, doesn't get the bump, and you take a shot outside. Allow your playmakers to make plays.
Or if nothing else, let your quarterback with a rocket arm air it out.
Against a secondary that has given up big plays. To me, I thought it ought to have been in the game plan. I wouldn't have had to adjust to that and wait for the second half to give Kenny Britt a chance to make plays, and Kendall Wright, we saw it on that drive. I would have been sort of maybe drawing that up on my first 12 plays, which we know they come in with it already scripted.
How cute is that? That is a happy fan and a happy daughter.
She's lovely.
One, Kenny Britt.
Look at Mike Munchak encouraging his young quarterback to keep slinging it. 4 for 4 on that drive after struggling for most of the game.
Locker on that drive looked very good. We talked about the 38-yard pass to Wright, the 34-yard touchdown pass to Britt. And they show a little life right there.
You think they'll take more shots when they get the ball back?
I think they've got to. Huh? Maybe they found something in that secondary. So Barones has it teed up. Keyshawn Martin is back for the Houston Texans. A lot of fans have left the stadium, but it's kind of fun to watch the young quarterback go to work. It's a two-possession game. Returnable from the 5. Keyshawn Martin. He had a big game earlier in the season, did Martin. He had a combined 238 yards and punt returns and kickoff returns against Jacksonville earlier in the year. He returns at 14 yards. And so here come the Texans. Get coverage of every NFL game on the go this holiday season with NFL Mobile. Watch every touchdown from Sunday afternoon games with NFL Red Zone for $5 a month. Call ** NFL to download or go to NFL.com/mobile. Foster in the backfield. 1st and 10 for Schaub. It is 18. Andre Johnson's been shut out the second half. Foster. Down he goes. And Keem Ayers was right there along with Shaw. Gain of 2. He's out to the 20.
Kevin, when we talked to Gary Kubiak, we said, what can you do to improve the defense? He says, it's our offense who has to help out a little bit more. We've got to maintain possessions, keep our defense off the field, and score more points. After you've seen the defense allow a touchdown drive there, this is where the offense for Gary Kubiak has to respond and not hand the ball back over to the Titans going 3 and out on this possession.
Jordan still playing the right guard. Harris still playing that right tackle. 2nd down and 8. Harris does a nice job protecting his quarterback, and that's right down the cut, and that's caught by Owen Daniels. And he was chased on the play by Babineau. It's a 19-yard gain, a good one, a 1st down to the 40.
And these are the kind of plays that get the momentum back. After allowing the touchdown drive by the Titans, the offense maintained possession, create a new set of downs, and now they're on the move. And they can score a touchdown here, Kevin. Boy, that goes a long way in extinguishing anything the Titans think they may have going on their side of the field.
Last play of the third quarter. 4 in the secondary. 1st down and 10. And this is through, and he slips there a little bit, trying to find his footing. Arian Foster, no gain on the play, and he'll stay right about the 40-yard line as the third quarter comes to a close. Long touchdown pass moments ago by Munchak's young quarterback, but that guy's thrown 2, and the Texans on top by 14. Even Marines can have some fun, can't they, huh?
Yeah, even when they're disguised.
Yeah, that's right.
That's that heat miser look.
Yeah, I like that.
I know you do.
Second down and we start the fourth quarter. The block by Bro. That was knocked back to Shaw, and he'll hit the deck. And why not when they come right at him? Looked like Shaw was jumping on him along with Derek Marks. It's a loss of 1. I'm not sure who knocked that ball down. Let's see it again.
Yeah, that one's going to come right back at him. And they're going to set him up with a very third and long.
Marks.
Oh, he caught it. That's why he was mad at himself. He bat that one down. And then you have the ball back at the original line of scrimmage. Now you create a 3rd and 16 because you complete a pass to yourself for a loss.
That's a reception.
That's right.
By the quarterback.
You catch on quick.
Well, hey, you know what? After 28 years, you think I might. 3rd down and 16. Schaub. And he throws underneath, and there's a tackle by Witherspoon on a gain of 5, and it's, oh, and look at Walters get up and say something to Derek Marks. I didn't like it.
Don't pick a fight with the big guys.
Well, Kevin Walter is the one, former Cincinnati Bengal, a long time ago they acquired him. Makes the grab at shy of the first.
Houston got themselves something going, but then squandered on the last few plays. There you see the catch and the tackle. But then the helmet, I should say, the hand to the face of Walter is what he didn't like.
Connie Jones again. There's a beauty. Reynaud will take it from the 5 for the Tennessee Titans, and then a nice tackle in the open field by Shiloh Kao. 14-yard return, 56-yard punt. Locker just threw a 34-yard touchdown pass. Back out he comes, 13-34 in the game. Well, they may be 4-7 and down by 2 touchdowns, but the fans love their Titans and love this day here in Nashville. We're early in the 4th. Locker threw a 34-yard touchdown pass to Britt last time they had it. Let's see if they build upon that. 1st and 10. And he finds his receiver, but he can't hang on. That's the normally sure-handed Washington. Demps with the coverage incomplete. 2nd down and 10.
One of the reasons why the Titans have struggled on offense is that of J.J. Watt. He's been ever present, getting pressure on the quarterback for sacks, ripping through that offensive line to shut down the run game, batting down balls at the line of scrimmage. He's done everything but snap the ball and kick field goals for the Houston Texans today.
He plays about 74% of the snaps on that side, but they move him around a little bit too, don't they?
And I can see why. He's lighting up the statistical board.
2nd and 10, Chris Johnson faced and finally brought down by Demps. A catch and run of 8, and they're going to put him at about the 26-yard line for Johnson, who's zeroing in on another 1,000-yard rushing season.
But they're dropping back and they're throwing on just about every single down. I still think it's time to work in some of the running game because we already told you J.J. Watt has wreaked havoc, and I think if you have to start back and start throwing it on every single down, that's when you allow this defensive line to make plays. So make sure you get it out quick before J.J. Watt arrives to the quarterback.
Green 8. Green 8, go.
Facing 6 defensive backs, 3rd and 3 for Locker.
Man-to-man coverage.
Watt was on him, and there's a wide open Washington. Carmichael and Chase. Demps is there as well. What a connection down the sideline. Locker was drilled on the play. A completion of 49 yards. They're going to put him at the 25.
And watch Locker. His ability to extend the play. Watch him move around. Now you can uncover at the 2nd level. He takes a hit, but not before he completes this ball to Washington. There's the hit right there. I don't know it's enough. You know, hey, he felt it. We didn't. It didn't look like a devastating hit.
So Locker is hurting and Hasselbeck is warming up. The veteran of 14 years. 1st and 10 from the 25. It's Chris Johnson. Sharpton was the 2nd guy, but Sean Cody stops him after a gain of 4. And he's down to the 21.
Now remember, Jonathan Joseph is out. So what that does, it brings up a 4th corner like Rock Carmichael, and now he's matched up against a talented Washington in coverage. Give Locker credit for finding the matchup advantage.
2nd down, 6. Drilling one inside. It's Kendall Wright. He was covered by Carmichael. Joseph is out. McCain is out with injury. They're going to call it a completion. It's a gain of 7 on the play. He's down to the 13-yard line.
Now will they continue to take shots at Carmichael, who's given up catches on 2 of the last 3 plays? And I think once you find a matchup advantage, they're going to give you man-to-man coverage. You have to attack it.
6 defensive backs. Locker. That's the tight end Cook. Hit by Carmichael. He's inside the 10. They'll spot him at the 7. It's a pickup of 6.
It was zone coverage that time, so Locker smartly just dumps it off. Right now, they're playing with house money. He's got a good feel right now for what the Texans are doing on defense, and I think his ability to use his legs to buy time, particularly against man-to-man coverage, is starting to take apart this Houston Texans defense.
Wade Phillips is the man who's the architect of this 34, which he brought with him. Defense comes in number 6 in the NFL in terms of yards given up, 17th in pass protection. 2nd and 4, Locker. Broken up beautifully on the play. They were going for Kenny Britt, and the coverage by Kareem Jackson. Nice play. Incomplete.
Yeah, it's man-to-man coverage every single time, Kevin. And I just think that's such an easy read for an inexperienced quarterback. See the man-to-man coverage. Go ahead and roll it. It's man-to-man across the board against all 4 receivers. So, see, that's an easy read. He knows he can try to get it to the slant. Good coverage that time by Kareem Jackson. But you're going to lose in some of those situations. With today's rules, really, I think, being to the advantage of the passing game, I think you give too much man-to-man coverage, they're going to make a play.
3rd and 4. Oh, he was held. They were going for the tight end, Cook.
He turned him.
I thought so, too.
I thought
There
was some contact. Now watch him grab the hips and turn him away from the ball before it arrives. See, he's turning. That's pass interference. By the rule, that is pass interference. You can put your hands on him and touch him before the ball arrives, but you're not allowed to touch him and turn him away from the ball.
I'll go for it on 4th and short, obviously, at the 7-yard line.
We got Kenny Britt matched up against Kareem Jackson. Carmichael at the top.
They roll him. He's chased by Watt. Down he goes. Ball is loose. A disaster all the way around. Any way you look at it, Watt so disruptive. They'll take over on downs at the 22 after having it at the 7. Boy, he looks beat up. Took a hard hit earlier in the drive. He slips here. Losing the ball. Going back to the Texans. Texans take over on downs. They're looking at the jaw and inside the mouth of Locker. He took a helmet inside. And here's Schaub. 1st down and 10. Ben Tate. Casey with the block. He's up near the 30-yard line and brought down on the play by Jarrell Casey. It's an 8-yard gain for Tate back after missing a month.
Take a look at the playoff picture. Of course, the Houston Texans can earn a playoff berth with a win today. Got a lot of playoff permutations. This thing can go down to the wire. We got Baltimore, New England also can clinch playoff berths.
Colts are losing right now by 9 in Detroit. Houston did have 10 days to prepare for this, but you need to know what they did before that. They played 2 games, overtime both, in 5 days, and won them both. 2nd down and 2. Tate. Brown will lead the way. Wade Smith is up there. Down he goes. Tackle made by Jarius. Win out of Georgia. Gain of 3. And he's got the 1st down to the 33.
And how about this? If you're the Houston Texans, the depth you have at running back, you're up 14 points, 24-10, 9 minutes to go. Kubiak brings in Tate. Because now Forset's going to come in. But to be able to close out games running the football with a fresh pair of legs like a Tate, a Foster, a Forsett, what a tremendous advantage.
Forsett is in there now. First and 10 for Schaub and Forsett. Man was brought down by Ayers, a gain of 2. You know, we just saw Gary Kubiak. And we'll talk about that in just a second. They face some of the worst criminals of all time tomorrow. They'll take on a real stunner, a Victoria's Secret model. Don't miss a new Hawaii 5-0. That's tomorrow, only on CBS. Do you think that in their wildest dreams, Elway and Kubiak, when they were teammates back with the Broncos in the early 90s, ever thought they'd be in this position? This guy leading an elite team in the AFC and Elway running the Denver Broncos.
And they could end up facing one another in the postseason.
Second down and 8. The tackle was made by rookie Scott Solomon out of Rice. A 5-yard gain on the play for Forsett up to the 40-yard line. And, of course, Kubiak was at one time Elway's coach in Denver.
Absolutely. And I think it's just amazing because it's what Mike Shanahan had built there in Denver. And remember, Rick Smith had served as a personnel and talent evaluator there in Denver. Then he gets the job as the general manager here following Kubiak to Houston. And they built sort of the same offense, built on some of the same things that you see them operating with here. And just playing at such a high level. I think it's the way to build an organization. I think Mr. McNair knows that.
I like that guy, Smith. 3rd down and 3. Schaub, short, wide, incomplete. Zeroing in on Keyshawn Martin. Coverage on the play by that guy, Jason McCourty, whose brother plays in the NFL. And they got to punt the ball. Just 7.5 to play here in the 4th.
We'll give McCourty some credit. Kubiak did not want to have to punt the ball back. Didn't want to have to give it back to the Tennessee Titans. They wanted to mount a game-killing drive on that possession.
You know, when you play an elite team and you're a lesser team like the Titans are right now, you've got to have something happen on special teams good for you.
Oh, there's no doubt about it. You've got to put all 3 phases together in order to play well.
Raynaud from the 6. And belted out of bounds by Rude. 20-yard return, 54-yard punt, and 7:26 to play in the 4th. Here's Locker. He's a tough customer. Got hit in the jaw. Back out there he goes. 7:26 in the 4th. After the punt, 1st and 10. Locker getting away on the run. Look at him taking up the middle. And then cut. Flag is down. He is hit from behind and hit from above. 25-yard scramble. Barwin was there. Merciless got it, but that's going to be brought back.
Offense, number 60.
Oh, again.
10-yard penalty. Repeat, 1st down.
This Kevin Matthews has been tagged twice. They've knocked out big gains both times.
And your quarterback's got a bloody lip, and he's still gutting it out. Playing like this. See J.J. Watt right in the middle right there? That's where they're going to call it. But Locker's playing a tough and gritty game. He's getting better as the game goes on, Kevin.
He's got swagger, doesn't he? Huh?
He really does. Toughness to him.
They said that. They told us he's a tough kid. Showing it today, 1st and 20 now. Six defensive backs for the Houston Texans. Locker. Chris Johnson chased out of bounds on the play by Dobbins. Looks like he comes up with a shoulder issue. 5-yard catch and run by CJ.
One of the things the coaching staff for Houston had talked to their players about after talked about how the defense struggled, Kevin, the last couple of weeks. They've been able to point to a frame of reference. They say, you're no longer the hunter, you're now the hunted. That's one of the best teams in the league.
2nd and 15. This is caught by Kendall Wright, who is brought down by Glover Quinn. No gain. Clock continues to tick. You see the timeouts, 3 apiece for both teams. Third and 15. Locker, Washington. It's caught at the 50-yard line. Makes the catch right in front of Brandon Harris. It's a 28-yard pickup.
Take a look at Harris. He's in tight coverage. What a throw from Locker. He's starting to challenge this secondary for the Houston Texans. In tight man-to-man coverage, still giving Washington an opportunity to make a play.
And he's on the money. 28-yard pickup. There's another 1st and 10 pass. This is caught by Cook, hit by Quinn. Forward progress of 4. Takes him down to the 46. There probably should have been too many people on the field, too many men on the field penalty against Houston because Merciless did not get off in time.
Locker's now close to 300 yards passing in the game. How about that for a turnaround?
Yeah.
Illegal substitution defense. The 12th player did not vacate the field prior to the snap. 5-yard penalty. Repeat, 1st down.
You can see right here at the top right there. Taking your time. You got to hustle. You got to get off the field. Not fast enough.
Now 1st and 5 for Gary Kubiak. Rather for the offensive coordinator. The new one, the 32-year-old offensive coordinator Loggins for Tennessee. 1st and 5. Going deep, looking for Britt. Coverage by Jackson. Incomplete, no yellow. No flag on the play.
There was some hand jousting, but not pass interference. I like the hand fighting. I think it's okay. But this ball was thrown. I don't think it was thrown close to the receiver. See, that's thrown way too far inside to even warrant pass interference. But there's a little arm bar there by Kareem Jackson. But he had great position. That's what Munchak is saying. Hey, that was an arm bar. But it was the positioning that he had, and the ball wasn't thrown, I think, close enough to the intended receiver, Kenny Britt. You got to get that ball over the top. And maybe the official might call that arm ball.
2nd down and 5. Walker, incomplete. That's a flag. Finally they throw one. They were going for Nate Washington. The coverage by Brandon Harris. An obvious shove from behind. And that appears to go against the Texans.
Boy, without Jonathan Joseph, they're vulnerable.
Pass interference, defense number 26. Automatic first down.
You can see the depth. Remember, McCain is already out of the game. Jonathan Joseph, another corner, is out of the game. See, there's the hands around the waist. That's why they called it. See, and he turns him away from the ball. I think that was a justified call there by the official.
Walker 1st and 10. Complete and out of the reach of the tight end, Cook. 2nd down and 10 coming up, time permitting after the game. The NFL Today update presented by Farmers Insurance. Join J.B. Dan, Shannon Cromer, Coach Bill Cowher for scores, news, and highlights. Right after this, there's Matt Hasselbeck there in the background. Signed him last year. Went 9-7 with him. Walker saw some time at various stages of the season. This year, Hasselbeck was beaten out. So thought the offensive staff of the Tennessee Titans.
I think Jake Locker said it would have taken him even longer to become a player if it were not for Matt Hasselbeck.
2nd and 10. Quinn just about got him. There goes Locker. And then he was touched by Barwin as he hit the deck. He gains 5 yards in the play to the 33.
See pressure coming off the top. Little hold on Quinn. Locker is able to escape. You love his athleticism. You love his ability to make plays with his legs. I think against man-to-man coverage, he knows when the defenders have their back turned to him, he can create a big game.
3rd and 5. Quick slant, dropped by Wright. Coverage by Carmichael. 4th down. They'll go for it.
Kevin, we told you Locker had a strong arm. This is a hot and heavy throw. Look at that.
Oh, but
that was hot coming in, but Wright's got to make that catch. Had a lot on it, a lot of mustard, but you can see Locker's got some plays in him. 6 passes dropped today by Tennessee Titans receiver.
4th down and 5. They need the Houston Texan 28. They got it. Right. Incomplete. Wow. He dropped it again. Now, Carmichael may have knocked that ball free. Another look will probably tell us what happened. Locker can't get it on downs. Houston will get the ball back at the 33. On downs for the 2nd consecutive time. 1st and 10. This is Arian Foster. Myers the center, and Casey the fullback / tight end. H-back will try to give some blocks. Gain of 2 on the play to the 35. Timeout taken. It's taken by Tennessee. They've got 2 left and 4:20 to play in this 4th quarter. Well, coming up next, the action continues on CBS as the Pittsburgh Steelers will take on the Ravens. The Bengals will play the Chargers, and the Browns will be in Oakland to play the Raiders. Check which game is in your area as we continue with this doubleheader Sunday on CBS.
Now with 4:20 to go, Kevin, this is where if you're Houston, you got to start running the football and burn time off the clock.
Shot 2nd down and 8. And Arian Foster. And with a hand on him right there. With the stop was this Houston Offensive line and the defense stopping him right there with the gain of about a yard. Make it 2. They'll put him at the 37-yard line as you take a look at some of the numbers with our game this afternoon.
And they're forcing the Tennessee Titans to burn their timeouts, which they'll have 1 left plus the 2-minute warning.
Well, Houston goes on to win this one and beat Jay Locker and the Tennessee Titans. They'll go to 11-1. They'll have the #1 record in the NFL, tied with Atlanta, who won on Thursday over New Orleans down in Georgia. 3rd down and 6. They need the 43, Matt Schaub. He'll go, and a great catch made by Walter. Working on McCourty. That is a 1st down.
And he's inbounds. Maybe the only thing the defender could have done is allow him to roll out of bounds without touching him down. But you can see he's going to catch this in front of McCourty, and then McCourty does touch him. Well, he gets out of bounds first, I should say, and that stops the clock.
18-yard pickup to the 45-yard line of the Tennessee Titans. Good catch by Kevin Walter. Good touch on the ball, too, by Matt Schaub. Forsett in the backfield, 1st and 10. Justin Forsett is brought down. Yep, it was Babineau that gets him. Gain of 5.
You know not to let him go, right?
Yes. Don't let him go after we saw Thanksgiving Day in Detroit. You're right. Make sure all parts of his body are down.
Absolutely.
It is quiet in here. Well, in the AFC, this is what it looks like. We have 3 teams that could win playoff positioning today. Houston is one of them that get in the playoffs. And you see the rest of the division. Indianapolis right now has a deficit up in Detroit.
And the Texans, remember, right now they're in control of home field advantage throughout the playoffs. You went out, and when they get to the postseason, as long as they continue to stay in it, the games will be played at Reliant Stadium in the AFC.
That's why that game next Monday is so important against the New England Patriots.
Absolutely.
Yep. That one is circled on the map from the 40, 2nd down and 5. Forsett, blocked by Walter. No gain. Stopped right there. And coming through with the grab was Zach Brown.
They're going to just run it again. Want to kill clock, but it's still a physical ball game, Kevin.
I think every time you take on Tennessee, you're going to get that. And the same with the Houston Texans as well. But the Titans have that reputation as a hard-hitting group.
Well, they do. And the AFC South, that's just how they play it.
It's 3rd down and 5. Schaub to Foster, and Foster submarining. Shy of the 1st down, picks up 2, put him at the 37. 4th down. 4th down and about 2. Mike Munchak, who is in the Pro Football Hall of Fame, played with the Houston Oilers. And there is something that does reunite these teams. When the Tennessee Titans, before they were called that, they were called the Tennessee Oilers. They played, I think, at least a year, maybe 2 in Memphis.
Yep, sure did.
As they're waiting for this place to be built.
As well.
Yes, they did.
Mike Munchak's known here in Nashville, as also well known in Houston.
He is.
Played on some great offensive lines for the Houston Oilers.
Bruce Matthews was right with them. A timeout taken by Houston, which reminds me of Jack Pardee, a former Oiler coach who is battling cancer in his last days.
You see Bruce Matthews, Hall of Famer, trying to get this offensive line turned around. Remember, there was a time, Kevin, they really struggled to run the football here. There was a lot of criticism, and even Munchak said there was a lot of pressure to get the run game going, and boy, have they done that. This offense came in today's game having rushed for over 100 yards for 5 consecutive games. We should also tell you that the Titans have brought in Tom Moore to help with the coaching staff.
Donnie Jones, the punt on this 4th and 3. Raynard will let it bounce in front. Great English. Good bounce for the Texans, and out of bounds about the 5. And Tavir Posey was the one to chase it down. 33-yard punt. This guy is terrific, this Donnie Jones. So you're talking about Tom Moore as they bring him in. They made the call after they let go of Chris Palmer earlier in the week. And they made the call to Tom Moore, and they said, we're going to fly you. And he goes, no, I'll just drive. So he drove 7 hours, got here.
From Hilton Head, South Carolina.
Yeah.
He loves coaching. And I got to tell you, I've been around Tom Moore for years, so have you. And you know what a wonderful man he is to have in the building. He can certainly help the offensive line. He can help the relationship between quarterback and wide receivers. He can help with the development of a young quarterback like Jake Locker.
Well, just as Peyton Manning, here is Kendall Wright underneath on that 1st and 10, weaving his way to the 15. Gain of 9 on the play and a throw by Locker.
And so much of this offense, what they want to do in terms of development, they want to go back to the days. Remember, this offense was most successful during the 2 stints of the late Mike Heimerdinger when he served as the offensive coordinator.
2nd one, that on the deflection may have been picked off by Sharpton. He's getting up and falling down, brought down by Britt. Looks like Sharpton may have gotten the ball, which would have been his first interception. Flag has been thrown. A Titans player has been flattened at the 27. And a lot of moving parts. That's
After the interception, personal foul, blindside block, number 94 against Houston. 15-yard penalty will be Houston's ball, 1st down.
That's the center, Fernando Velasco, number 61, is the one who was hit. The ball jarred free, the big hit right there by Demps. Sharpton may have vacuumed it in.
They're taking a look at it to see if Sharpton had complete control of the ball. I think the ball does touch the ground. You can see it was the catch by Washington. He's hit. Ball goes up in the air. Look at Sharpton. There's the catch. Ball does touch the ground, but does it move? Does it jostle? In my mind, I think it's a catch. I think he had completion of the ball. He had control of the ball, and then it hits the ground, but it doesn't move in any way, shape, or form where the ball becomes dislodged.
After reviewing the play, the ruling on the field is confirmed. It is an interception. Houston's ball, 1st down.
Sharpton comes up with it. They got him off the physically unable to perform list. He started at inside linebacker for Dobbins at Detroit last week. He had a career-high 13 tackles. He had battled a torn quad tendon. And he's making the defensive calls today with Brady James sideline.
Boy, what a day for the Titans on offense. 6 sacks, 6 turnovers. Locker had 5 turnovers in this ball game, including 3 interceptions.
Well, in about a minute and 43 seconds, Houston will be in their 2nd consecutive playoff. That is the miscue menu for the Titans today. Not good.
That does tell you the story, doesn't it?
Schaub goes a 4th consecutive game against the Titans without throwing an interception. Tough day for Locker, but the 11th win. This is a new Houston Texan record. Now 11-1. They've won 6 consecutive road games. They clinched their 2nd consecutive playoff appearance. Schaub getting his 15th win in his last 16 starts. Last season they clinched in week 14. And now they rub their hands together and get ready for a big one in Foxborough next Monday night against the New England Patriots.
These games have been on the road. You're talking about a team that's going to be rough and ready and tested by the time they get to the postseason. Game at Detroit, here today at Tennessee, and then next week their 3rd consecutive road game as they head on to take on the New England Patriots.
Well, any kind of win is a good one, especially when you win on the road, and that's what the Texans have done today against their rival, the Tennessee Titans, who have now lost 4 of their last 5. They'll drop to 4-8. And they will move on and try to work in a new offensive coordinator and get things turned around after going 9-7 a season ago.
Yeah, the Houston Texans, though, they've I think they're making a statement. They're just continuing to improve in so many different ways. I know people are going to look at Jake Locker at 300 yards passing, but this defense played well for the Texans today.
Texans, 6 takeaways, 6 sacks. Another win on the road for Schaub. Texans with the win. You've been watching the NFL on CBS, home of Super Bowl 47.